Hello, friends. It's been a minute, right? I know it has been. It's your favorite camera wielding extraordinaire. Welcome to another episode of the House of Blaq. Today is a very special episode because I have been hinting about this for quite some time, and I'm going to try to make this intro as short as I can, but as amazing as I can. So, I have had few of my models and a cosplayer that's been on this platform as a guest. I've had close friends be on this podcast before, but not as huge as the person I have on this episode. Now, this will only be familiar for those who are in the TikTok world. When I got on TikTok, I was hesitant to get on TikTok because I felt like voice dubbing is not my thing at one point of it. But then I started realizing it was entertaining at some point of it. And then I said, it took, and then I said to myself, well, maybe somebody in an influencer might get my attention, whether it's Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Smosh, and what have you. There are many creators on TikTok, no different than YouTube. But one stuck out for me in particular. I'm a lover of comics. And one thing I'm very picky about is my comics. But at the same time, I love comics. But I don't see a lot of comic influencers other than Comic Storian that I pertain to. And one particular influencer, a well-established one, got my attention because he makes it very clear about his passion of DC, which obviously you know I am, case the shirt, if you're watching the video version of this. But what makes him unique is the fact of his rundown of characters you never would have even thought of to this aspects of some characters, including a certain Bat character that we'll be talking about. The hint, you'll know who it is when it comes to that. I ran into him earlier this year, and I never thought that he would get back to me because it's one of the many rare moments you will see me starstruck because this is an influencer that on the platform. If you are a person on TikTok that truly reads comic books, that is influenced to comic talk, this influencer you will definitely be known for. Uh, he, I truly feel like this is one of my peak moments of it, and I so great. We got to talk about mental health. We got to talk about his marriage. We got to talk about how the name came, his enthusiasm in the DC world of it. We geeked out a little bit about a certain Kryptonian, but I could not be more happy with today's episode. As I present to you in today's episode of the House of Blaq, the biggest guest I've had personally in my career in this podcast, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. May I present to you today's episode with special guest, ThePandaRedd. So we're going to start this off, if anything. I got to get the generics from you. It seems like dumb questions, but trust me, it's for everyone else who watches in the case of it. So the first thing is I got to ask about the ThePandaRedd name. I got to start you with that because I got to figure out how did that come to be.
Gotcha. So originally, when I started posting things on social media, it was because I was going to art school and I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a comic book artist. And the Instagram account that I would use was called Pandapool. And Pandapool, it was Pandapool98, and it was based off of a comic called Deadpool Kills Deadpool, because I've always been a comic book fan. And I grew up being specifically a Marvel fan. I thought I was a Marvel fan more than anything. And I loved Deadpool so much that I based the name off of there's one specific issue because Deadpool Kills Deadpool is a comic about one Deadpool in the Marvel universe collects a bunch of evil Deadpools to try and kill off basically all of them. Like the goal is to eradicate himself from the timeline because it's the Deadpool Kills the Marvel universe version of him that organizes everybody, and his entire goal is like, I'm going to kill you so you don't have to live through the infinite repeat of comic book plot lines. So he goes out and he collects a bunch of other nihilistic Deadpools, and he's like, we're going to eradicate Deadpool from the timeline so we don't have to live through this anymore. Because I've tried to eradicate everybody else and it doesn't work. So we are just going to do us so we don't have to live with this anymore. And in that comic, it's like the final one where there's this giant multiversal war going on. And it's a whole bunch of versions of himself all fighting, and our hero team is like the Deadpool Corps. So it's like Lady Deadpool, Prime Universe Deadpool, Kid Pool, Dog Pool, and Head Pool. That's our like usual Deadpool Corps, and they stumble across a character called Panda Pool, and it is just a red and black panda. Like that's the joke, and the entire joke is that it's the species that extincts you, and it's they revere him like he's like a character that's already existed, like he's like super, like everyone loves him, and then I think a page later he's dead. And like dead with like a giant fuck off hole in his chest like this big. And when I was first starting into like making like art at all, I thought that that was fucking hilarious. I thought that was a hilarious joke, and I already loved pandas, so I said fuck it, I'm gonna make my name Panda Pool and put that on Instagram. And because it was on Instagram and that was the one name that I used that wasn't my own, I ended up using that on any other social media. So when I was in college and I made my TikTok account, I made it Pandapool, Pandapool98, and just ran with that. But then videos started getting popular. Like videos started like happening, and it was videos and posts. And I'm not talking like big posts. I mean like 1,000 something likes. I was young. I thought that was big. I thought that was crazy big. And I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this at any size, Disney is infamous for suing people into oblivion, and they also really don't like when people use their IP.
No.
And I think right around that time was right when Disney got a lot of shit for the dad who wanted to put the Spider-Man logo on his kid's grave, and Disney had to send him a cease and desist. And I heard about that, and I was like, they're definitely not gonna make an exception for my ass. So hold on, how do I fix this? But I wanted to keep the panda name. I kind of wanted to keep the logo because I didn't want to do anything to it. So I went, all right, I like pandas. My favorite color at the time is red, but I want it to be fun and not just basic, because ThePandaRedd, there's already red pandas. If you just swap it, that's going to be taken. So I'll add an extra letter to it. I'll put a "the" at the front of it because I'm that self-important. And then it ended up just kind of working out, because then after that I started making like skit TikToks a little while down the road. And like the colors of my like panda logo, the like gunmetal gray, white, and red, is actually because of the fact that when I was like, okay, I want to mess with this a little bit, and I put the original logo that I had, which was the main color was red, the eyes were black, and the outline and the like eye circles were black, and then the eyes themselves were white, and the outline was white. And I just threw that into because it was a Deadpool logo. So I just threw it into a color filter and just flipped through it. And there was like this one very specific invert filter that added something else to it that I was like, oh, wait a minute. Keeping that, and stuck with that for the rest of time. But like if going like way back into my old content, you know, sometimes when you download a TikTok video, the end like animation plays where it shows like the logo of the profile picture. That'll play in some of my older videos, and it'll be my old logo where it's like a blood red it's like a blood red Deadpool logo essentially. It's the exact same like shape and everything, but it's the colors are completely wrong, and it always makes me laugh because all of my old pictures of me like passing like 10,000 followers, 5,000 followers, those always have my old logo on it. And I'm like, oh, right, I need to explain why it looks like I'm just copying a Deadpool logo. And the answer is because I am.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Funny, it's weird the fact that that's scenario, because I went through a change in my name like last year, because my original name, like, so one of my favorite animes is an anime called Tenchi Muyo. You got to be a nostalgic person like myself of it too, because you probably know about Toonami. So Tenchi Muyo is my favorite. Yeah, Tenchi Muyo is my favorite anime. Period. Bar none. And so the name of the family in the show is Masaki, this last name. So my name was Yoku Masaki, which was a play of it, because Yoku is usually used as a Japanese as the last word in a sense. So that was my original name. And at one point I found out we were dealing with the whole, you know, Asians were getting endangered because of COVID.
Oh, right. I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I really don't want to be like I'm using it for a disrespect sense. So I'm going to have to change my name. So
Yeah.
what I ended up doing is I remember the fact that on my sleeve here, I have Donnie Darko, which is a movie that
Yeah.
emotionally connects to me a lot because I talk a lot about mental health. So what I said
Right.
is, well, I'm just going to take Donnie. And then I said, well, I'll just change it to black because of the cast. I'm a black guy in the case of it. So I'm like a black version of Donnie Darko, but instead of dark. So then I just changed it to black, but then I said I wanted to just change because I've seen people use K for black a lot of times. B L
Yeah.
A
Just
K
B L A
K,
K.
B L
Yeah.
A C K. And I said, I don't see a lot of people using Q much, which has the same pronunciation when you use it in certain words. It's the
Oh
Q, the
yeah.
same pronunciation. So I'm like, I'll just change it to Q. So that's how Donnie Black came to be. So it's funny how like you had like, you know, you didn't
Almost
want
the
to deal with
exact same story.
the situation. You don't want to deal with the
Yeah.
whole red flag. It's like, you know what? I'm going to change it in the case of it. Because I had the same thing with some of my videos too, because also I have 2 TikToks. I have
Yeah.
another one from my photography company. And
Mm-hmm.
most of my early skit stuff was on that account. So when I put it to my new one with my current one,
Yeah.
my old logo is on there too on the
Oh
end. So
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I got to explain about that. So because it's a logo I don't use much anymore, but I still do time to time, which is basically like you know how like the Jolly Roger is with the
Yeah.
bones crossing and such. So I have a
Mm-hmm.
version of that. And years ago, when I was trying to market my name to distinct out, I used to wear this red and black cat Laplander hat, which was like
Mm-hmm.
custom made for me. I would wear that a lot of times. So I put that as the logo with the skull and my glasses and
Mm-hmm.
my beard, and that was with the crossbones. So that was the original logo that I had. And I still use that time to
Yeah.
time for some people. But I slowly phased out of it because of the fact
Mm-hmm.
that one, most people know me more from my sense of me from what I talk about because I'm more visible in the sense of it. And then two,
Right.
that damn thing hat was so fucking hot to wear. And I live in Ohio and our heat is fucking ridiculous. So I'm like, I am
Yeah.
not sweating my balls off in this damn hat. So I'm like,
I
yeah, I'm gonna,
yeah.
yeah. So I just phased it out now. So I'm like, I'll use it when people know me or want to know me from it, but I'm
Exactly.
not wearing that fucking hat. Like I wore it one year at Colossal, funny
Yeah.
enough, and I was just like,
Oh
I'm
Lord.
sweating.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
yeah. I don't even need to explain to you. You already know what I'm talking. Like I
No.
wore that thing sweating my ass off. I'm just like, I am losing my goddamn mind on this of it. People are asking me like, "Are you okay?" Like I'm looking dehydrated. I'm just drenching. So I'm like, "Yeah, I gotta take
Because
this
you
off."
are.
So I'm just,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just like, yeah, I
Oh
can't
man.
do that anymore. So yeah. So I slowly
I
phased out
totally
of
get
that.
that.
Yeah. But
I'm
at the
having to
same,
phase out my mohawk in all of my marketing too
I
because
was.
I have it
That's
in a
actually
whole
a
bunch of
question of
stuff.
that. That's
Yeah.
actually a question I was going to bring up because I didn't know because I saw the video of you were saying
Yeah.
like with the hawk you had well, which I thought was great on you. If anything, it was distinct for you.
Thank you.
But I understood the story of the case of the face. Now, are you sure? You sure the wife had nothing to do with this? Scarlett had
I
nothing
am
to do with it.
110% certain that she had nothing to do. In fact,
Okay.
actually, the only thing that I will give her is that she actually allowed me to think about cutting it. That is the only thing. Because the one thing that I always point to people, because I have seen a lot of posts, I've seen a lot of comments that I get in the comments because I'm like, listen, if she sees that you commented this, she's gonna fucking kill you. So I'm gonna respond to this. And it's the people like people will ask like, why did I change my hair? Or they're like, oh my god, this is the first time I'm seeing Panda in a while, and he has long hair. What happened? And they're like, oh, he's growing it out for the wedding or something, and I have to jump in and be like, shut the fuck up, you're wrong, and because I have to get up and be like, listen, motherfucker, I have to immediately snap into like a mean mode that I'm not usually in, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the only thing that the thing that I have to continuously point out to people is like, hey guys, do you remember my proposal video, the top pin video in my entire everything? She said yes while I had a mohawk, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
The entirety of what changed it is first I started debating it, but it's one of those things that since I had it since kindergarten, I first cut my hair into a mohawk when I was in kindergarten,
Mm-hmm.
and I just never changed it from there. Well, like it adapted with me, it grew with me, but like it was always a mohawk. It was always distinctly a mohawk. And I eventually that just became part of like my identity. That was just who I am. I was the kid with the mohawk. It was in like all my bios. It was in everything that I did. And
Yeah.
you get so used to this look. You get so used to this feeling that just becomes who you are.
Yeah,
That's just it's a part of you. It feels like it can't change. Otherwise, you're gonna lose that part. It's the same thing that when like comedians say they don't want to go on antidepressants because they don't want to lose
yep,
their spark, or any of those things. It feels like if I change that, I'm gonna change everything. Especially because I'm like over 1 million followers when I'm thinking about changing my hair.
yeah.
It's all these things that I'm like, I've based branding about this. I've based characters around this. I have an entire following that follows me partially because of how I look. I get that. And it was something that I never even considered changing because it was so central to my sense of character. And Mirren was the only person to ever, which by the way, her real name is Mirren. She was the only person to ever actually make me go like, she actually was like, okay, what do you lose if you cut your hair? If you change your hair, if you want to grow it out, what changes? And I'm like, well, there's all of these factors. There's my following. There's like the sense of identity. There's all these things. And she's like, okay, but does that actually change? Is everyone going to unfollow you? Do they follow you because you have a mohawk? Do they like you because you have a mohawk? Do they listen to you because you have a mohawk? I'm like, well, no. And she's like, okay, I'm going to love what you look like no matter what. I don't give a fuck what you look like. You could buzz it tomorrow. I'd be pissed, but you could buzz it tomorrow and you do you. And I was like, okay. And at that time, like, I had a lot of family stuff going on at that time. I had a lot, and like, I had just proposed. She had just proposed. It was a lot of things that it was like, well, she proposed a little bit afterwards because our engagement photos, I have a little bit longer hair. But I had just proposed, and I was kind of trying to feel out what I wanted to do. What did I want to look like as I grew older? And with like my family stuff, I had a lot of interpersonal stuff changing at that time. A lot of things that I was like, the ground's unsteady here. I'm not really sure what the future looks like in terms of like what I can say my identity is and all of these things. And I had recently discovered like my own mental health problems. I had recently discovered that I was autistic. I had recently discovered that I had ADHD. I had been in therapy for only a couple of months at that point, and then switched to a much more intensive therapist. I discovered my own problems with food. Like, I had discovered a lot about myself and a lot of things about my existence, and was looking down the barrel of even more massive changes happening. And I kind of realized that the only reason that I had kept the hair was not because I actually liked it. It's not that I disliked it, but it's not like I was actively feeling good about it. It's not like I was like, I love having this. It was more of a feeling of like, well, this is who I am, so of course. It's like me complaining that I have a nose. Like, it just feels that, what am I going to do about that?
It
Like,
sounds like
there's nothing I can do to change.
yeah, it sounds like a comfort situation, if anything, because it's
Yeah,
more like
I was entirely just comfortable in that
comfortable.
feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, because
And
at one point, like I said, and you're absolutely right about the fact that it's your identity. Because that's what I said. I remember most times, like early in your videos, when I watched your videos early on, like
yeah,
that was like
it's
trademark
an
for you. Because I was like,
identifier. Yeah.
it did very much so, but in a good way in the sense of it, and not to mention a little envious at one point because unfortunately for me as an alopecia, I tried to grow a fro one. Does not look right. I tell people, you
Did
don't
not
want me
work.
growing my hair. I look like Sherman Hemsley. Like I
Oh
look like
god.
Homer Simpson. Don't do
Oh
it.
god, my
And that was the other
condolences.
reason. And yeah, and that was the other reason why I started wearing hats, including my trademark hat.
Oh yeah.
And that was the other reason why assumed it was the reason why you had the hat, the fro hawk, fro hawk, because that same reason. So I was just like, maybe he has hair condition situations. But then when I realized about just the fact of just you know just it was who you are, what you're comfortable with, and then the lovely fact that you're a lovely wife saying like it doesn't matter, and just helping you and analyze about that, which is a wonderful thing I like to see about that. I love that she did that. I love that she had some
Oh yeah.
input to help you think process about that whole situation, to just be like, look,
Absolutely.
it shouldn't change who you are. It's not going to change how people look at you, how people following you in the sense of it. It's more of what you put out, the content and everything. You changing a hairstyle is no different than just somebody shaving off their facial hair in that sense of it. It's not going
Exactly.
to change who you are in that case, regardless. And that's still not going to change how I feel about you. from your wife's perspective of it, and I
Exactly.
love
Yeah.
that from her in the sense of the case of it. Speaking on that case of it, I believe June 29th was the day that you engaged your lovely lady.
Yeah,
But I remember you
June
had posted before
29th was the day that I got the June 29th was the day I got the ring.
the ring.
September
So yeah,
1st was
September
when
1st.
I
Okay,
actually proposed.
okay. And how long were you and Mrs. How long were y'all together at one point in the sense of it? If I can ask in that case.
3 years.
Okay.
We have been together for about 3 years, but I will we will always admit, we move insanely fast. Like we got every big life thing that happens to couples done in about 6 months. And it was, and I'm not talking like all of the dating steps. I mean the things that get people divorced in like 6 months. We went, in the first 3 months of us being together, I had fully moved in because I had just left college. I was living at my parents' house, and I fully moved in within 3 months because we had just been talking every single day. I was there almost every day, anyways. And also, she had a major surgery 3 months into our 3 months into our relationship, and I needed to stay over to make sure that she was recovering.
Oh wow.
And also, uh, about a little before that, I had already been living at her house because I went over. I think for the our fourth official like actual date. I was meeting her best friend, and when I got there, my mom texted me and was like, "Hey, your dad just tested positive for COVID." This was heart of COVID, and she's like, "Your dad just tested positive for COVID. I'm probably gonna get COVID. You should probably test yourself." And I went, "Okay." My girlfriend is about to go into major surgery. If I get COVID, I'm her ride. I'm the person taking care of her. I can't get COVID. So I can't come home. If you have COVID, I'm staying the fuck away from you. And I tested, I was negative, so I just kind of had to stay at her house, and thank God she liked me. So she was like,
That
yeah,
that,
okay,
that
yeah,
sounds
you
like a
can stay
yeah.
over for a little while.
That sounds
Like,
like a
there's,
perfect bonding situation of coincidences. Because I'm just like,
yeah. And then I'm already living there for like, again, hard COVID. It's like a month and a half that you have to wait. Like, this isn't
yep,
the current state of it where people are like, oh, you can wait like a week, and if you test negative, you're fine.
yep,
I'm like, no, I'm staying here for like a month until you have no symptoms. I'm making sure that I'm not
yeah,
getting shit.
yeah.
And at that point, I've been staying over for like a month. We're like 4 or 5 months in, and I'm like, okay, fuck it. Can I just kind of like crash here for like the weekdays, and I'll go home to like see my parents on the weekends? And she's like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. You're already living here. So I moved into her apartment about 4 months in. A month after that. By the way, also remember that family drama I was talking about when I was cutting my hair? All that is happening this entire time. So like my
Oh,
family state is falling to pieces around my ears, and no
okay.
one really knows what's going on. In that 6 months time period, that's when we hear about our current house that we're living in. So we moved in together, moved house, renovated a house, dealt with entire family dramas, dealt with major surgeries, uh, dealt with everything in our house breaking multiple times, like over and over and over and over again within that within like the first year or so, and that continued for almost 3 straight years. It's been a legendary run of fucked up luck, but the only
Yeah,
thing that has been consistently good is that. But that is it is an insane amount of time to really consider the fact that like everything that we had to get out of the way, we got out of the way within the first year, and then we were just completely solid from then on. Everyone had already started talking to us like we were a married couple. I again, we had been living together for over 2 years at that point. It was something that was going to happen, and everyone knew was going to happen. And honestly, I beat her to it by a month. She already had a photographer. She already had my ring. She already had all of my proposal gifts. She already had where she was going to propose to me at. And then I beat her to it by a month, and she had to reschedule everything because the things that she was going to do got taken by other friends. And then she was like, "Okay, I'm going to move this. I'm going to move that. I'm going to move these things." Because I proposed September 1st. She proposed December 30th. Yeah. Like it
That
was,
that's
we were both ready to pull the fucking trigger. It
that's
also isn't helped
crazy.
by the fact, two years in, her brother got married, and her father fucking loves me. But her father, when we were at the wedding, pulled both me and her sister's boyfriend aside, and he's a couple drinks deep at this point, and he's loving the love, and he pulls us both aside and he goes, "Boys, you have a year. You have a year to propose to my daughters, or I'm going to hunt you for sport." And I went, "You got it,
Holy
Dad."
shit!
And he
Holy
is.
shit!
This is a war veteran Marine. This is a
Oh,
man you don't fuck. This is a man who has had facial surgery and still has shrapnel in his face. Like this
oh
is
my
somebody who he's like, I know the places in the woods that no one can hear. You have a you have a year. And I was like, okay, yes sir, understood.
oh, it sounds like this guy's like I'm thinking like either Deliverance or Deer Hunter, like in the sense of it, like John Voight in the sense
Weirdly
of it, like
enough, he is. Think Arthur Morgan. That's the Arthur Morgan
that
from Red Dead. That is the
Red Dead.
exact
That
person, but like put him in modern day. He is
yeah.
the most bubbly, joyous person you have ever met. But at the exact same time, that man has a draw speed of half a second. Like he is
Woo!
terrifying.
Oh my God. That is terrifying. Yeah. It's
Oh yeah.
understanding the statement of the case of it, but like if anything, like I'm glad in
Mm-hmm.
that case of it. I wish that sense of it. But yeah, I love the fact that y'all both had to like compete over the engagement. But the fact of regardless of like all the stuff that you said, like dramatic that you had to deal with, like the that is so eerily of a coincidental fate that happened for you and her that had the circumstances of making this work with you two. Like that's gotta be I
It's
hate to
weird.
say it, that's like rom-com material right there. It
Oh,
really
it
is.
is.
Because I told
We have
people
a.
I've told people like
the-
circumstances like that don't really happen a lot of people. But like with
no, they
that
don't.
now hearing this now of it sense of it, like, oh my God, that is rom-com material. I'm waiting for somebody to write that down in Hollywood because that's so
Yeah.
so bit.
We felt we I mean shit, the first message I ever sent to her was about Red Hood, because like yeah, we met on like Tinder, but when we met it was her bio was specifically about looking for someone who will understand my Red Hood tattoo. And I was like, and by the way, she's a fucking saint, because my messages read back to myself, I'm like, how the fuck did you give me a chance? This is terrible. Like
Yes.
my first couple of messages are literally like, I'm trying to be cute, so I'm like, oh, what Red Hood helmet? That's the tone I'm saying it in. What
Uh-huh.
the text says is, which one is it? That's it.
Oh my
I
goodness.
open with the most fucking comic book dude bro, to name 5 characters before you can fucking
Yes.
say you're a fan, ass
Oh
line
my
in
God.
the
Yes.
history of time. And
Oh my
somehow I
God.
got past the first message.
First
That
message.
woman is a saint for giving me more than
Yeah.
half a second. And
Yeah, that's
even
an instant shutdown right there. Like, dude,
exactly, I should not have
it
made
is,
it past the door. It
dude,
is.
yes. Oh my
She
God,
also,
because I'm
oh
like,
my
dude, like,
god,
you said that? What?
yeah.
Oh my God, like,
Yeah,
I I'm
I
just
know.
I was.
I was fucking dumb. It was so bad. I read it back after the fact and was like, "Oh my god. How the
Oh,
fuck did you
dude,
let me get How the fuck did you let me do anything? That's
yes.
terrible."
Oh my
And she's
God,
like, "You're
like if.
lucky you're cute. That's the only reason I
Oh
swiped,
yeah.
asshole." I'm
Oh,
like,
dude, like
I'm
it's
like,
immeasurably. Yeah, it
"Yeah, I
measurably makes
am.
sense.
Jesus, I'm lucky.
Yeah,
Fuck."
it's immeasurably good that you put her on the pedestal for that because that's like, holy
Oh
crap!
god.
Like I can't believe you pulled that something off and then you still got her. That
I
is
don't understand it.
insane.
She's
It is.
she's a
That is
saint.
so
She's a
bizarre
saint that
because
gives
I
me
was just
too many chances. It's
yeah. I
insane.
mean, like, oh man, but it's going off of that because I'm like the fact that she mentioned Reggie,
Yes.
I'm like, oh, it's very rare somebody brings that up, which wants me to lead you to this other situation about it. Obviously, from what I
Yeah.
know in many of your videos and such about it, because in fact, which also relates to something else I wanted to talk about, because actually it's two topics since of it. First off, I got to talk to you, obviously, Red Hood. The last time I watched a video when you brought up about Jason was about the certain cover that shall not be really named in the sense of it. That was just you mitigated mess, which I completely 100% agree with you on that design. And so, bringing in my 2 cents about it before going into that as well, what was it about Jason particularly? Because I know obviously Red Hood's your guy. What is it particularly about Jason's story that made it interesting for you to attach to that character in particular? Because I'm curious to know. Because I tell people all the time when it comes to Jason, like his character is very interesting. I am not going to lie. What won me over was a little later. I don't know if you've ever if you read Sean Murphy's White Knight series.
I did.
I
actually know Sean Murphy. It was really weird. Sorry, side tangent. When I went to OAX a couple of years ago, I dropped the fucking ball on that. I feel so bad about that. They flew me out there. They were so nice to me, and I was going through a lot of mental shit at that time, and I did not get the videos out in time. I feel terrible. But while I was there, I met a insane number of people. One of which being Sean Murphy. I like pulled him to the side and we talked for a little while because Benny, comic historian, rest in peace, was also there. And that was the first time I met him in his group because they had only stumbled in because they were in the area and
my goodness.
decided to stop by the like after party. And it was him, it was comic historian and Comics Explained who both showed up. And their
Comics Explained was there.
With.
Oh
yeah,
God.
their whole posse like showed up, and I met them for the first time.
Crazy.
But as I was talking to Benny, he was like, "Oh shit, hey, Sean Gordon Murphy's over here. Come here." And he like walked me over, and me, Sean Gordon Murphy, and Comic Historian were just having a conversation. This entire it was fucking crazy, and my only proof that this happened is he was like, "Hey, if you ever need a conversation." If you ever need, if I ever have a book coming out and you want to talk about it, just shoot me a message. We'll figure something out. And I am a TikToker that no one knows here. I should not be here. I am
dude.
Okay.
Like, oh my God.
Cool.
Like, so many questions I would love to have asked him myself because I love his point of putting nostalgia into the sense of it with his whole White Knight series. And I loved the Red Hood that he had done with that because his version of what he did with Red Hood was my personal favorite. And then the other version I do like is Future State. I love Future State's what they did with Future State Gotham because I love what they did with him in that series as well. So both of those are great. But God, like the fact that you met Sean and you got his contact and such, like I would kill to meet that man. Somebody. The last person I know. The last person.
Fucking clue what to say to him.
That's just
cool.
Blows my mind. But again, this is why I told people like how big a fucking deal meeting you because most of these people like it's surprising for me. I'm like of anything on that end of it, and we'll get to that point in a minute with that encounter. But the fact that I want to go back to Jason because I love your takes of Jason, and this also brings me to when you had talked about a certain comic in the Batman, The Diplomat's Son, when you had talked about that story, that related to me so well on the story on that angle with that story in that book with him because everything you put on the facts is absolutely true. And I love that you did that with the character of it with Jason on the fact of something as simple as from pushing the guy off or not and making him look as if he's bad that leads up to, of course, to the events that would be the death of the family and his unfortunate demise. And I love the fact that you put in that. And I'm like, I've seen more of your takes when it comes to Jason in that sense of it than most of the other characters in the Batman family. So my question is what is it about Jason that attached to you more in the sense of, oh, you know what? Out of all the Batman characters, like his is very interesting because I've seen more when it comes to him more than anybody else. So what was it about Jason?
So when I was growing up, the DC movie that I remember is I watched 2 Batman animated movies growing up the most, and it was Mask of the Phantasm and it was Under the Red Hood. And it's because those are the ones that were available to me, and I watched the shit out of them. And to this day, Mask of the Phantasm is still my favorite animated Batman movie outside of Under the Red Hood because I love that movie so much. And I'll fully admit, growing up, I'm a Deadpool fan. The design in the movie looks a little similar, so I thought it was cool. That's what started it. The reason that it stuck with me, and it isn't just like a childhood, oh, I love that character, is I read Under the Hood. I kind of started analyzing what the story is about. I started really thinking about the fact that, like, Under the Hood is not about Batman's no-kill rule. It uses it as a vehicle to talk about the differences between a vigilante and Batman, between what a vigilante looks like and what Batman is. And it uses it to discuss Batman's complicity in the things that go on around him. Under the Hood does a lot of things. Like the book does a lot of things that I really enjoy. I do ultimately think the better adaptation is the movie. I think the better telling of that story is the movie. Just because while there are a couple of things in the book that I wish made it to the movie,
Same.
I think that they get 90% of the main points and also correct a lot of the mistakes that I think were done in the book. But ultimately, the thing that really drove me to the character is I really appreciate the fact that Jason Todd, if you actually like read his character for more than just what they do to him later, which is making him DC's Punisher a lot of the time, which if anything I would say that's Midnighter or a grifter, but they really push him as this sort of hyper violent, guns first, I'm gonna kill the bad guy instead of giving him a second chance sort of vibe. If you actually read the story and you read who Jason was before he died, there's a lot of things that start to come into clarity. One of those being he is only doing this because he is probably the closest to a Gotham native of any of the Bat family, outside of maybe Stephanie. Bruce barely gets a pass because he grew up on the outskirts and rich. He doesn't really know what it's like to live in the streets of Gotham. No. Jason grew up on the street. He grew up in Gotham City. He grew up on Crime Alley. Like, he is the salt of the earth when it comes to Gotham. He knows what gets shit done. But he also knows of anything that the criminal enterprises, A, can't just go away, and B, this is how people support their families. Like, sometimes this is just what has to happen. And I really appreciated the fact that in the book, while Jason is usually portrayed as, like, kind of crazy and on his own mission and all of these things, the initial things that he sets out to do, they never really address the fact that it works. Like, in the book, they say crime is down, drug running is down, things are kind of working, but they kind of rely on the idea that you're going to agree with Batman that killing is wrong. And for the most part, yeah, killing is wrong. Murder is wrong. But Jason uses killing as a last resort. He uses killing the way Captain America uses killing, where he's like, I don't want to kill you. I don't want to have to kill you. But there's a reason I carry a gun. Like, he uses that in the, like, if you break the rules, I told you, and the rules are not hard to follow, don't sell to kids and stay out of these neighborhoods. You made that choice. You made that choice to do something amoral and terrible and ruin someone's life. So that's it. And I won't be like, oh, I inherently agree with that, because that's not true. But looking at the book, they kind of show the fact that Bruce's ideology hinges a lot on the fact that he's willing to let people die to uphold his own morals. He's willing to let things get worse to uphold what he feels is moral. And Jason points that out with the, like, Joker point. Like, it's the famous line of the, like, I'm not talking about killing Cobblepot or Crane or Dent, any of these people who are just sick. Like, Cobblepot is just a gangster. Dent is just a gangster. Crane is just someone who, he gets off on scaring the shit out of people, but at this point he's just a mentally unwell man. Joker is not like them. Joker did something terrible. And outside of you being Batman, you're my dad. You should do this for me. And having Bruce go, I really do admonish that the story doesn't really acknowledge the fact that he did try and kill the Joker. That he really, in the story that Jason dies, he immediately is like, I'm going to go fucking murder that man. And they don't really address that, because I don't think Batman wants to address that. I mean, but at the same,
it's been isn't it been twice in a sense? Because at one point in Hush, like, he was about to beat the shit up after he thought Thomas died. Gordon had to get him off of him, like, dude, chill. Gordon had to be the
kill
one
this
to tell
man,
him.
you're a murderer. I have to
Exactly.
I will
He
have
had to
bring
pull
you
him
in.
because Bruce was beating the shit out of him for the moment he
Exactly.
saw Tony's death. So yeah, like I was like, I just thought about that now. I'm like, wait a minute, that's the second time then that he's been on that reclusive. Because I'm not gonna lie to you,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Like Bruce was like on a deadhead vengeance to go after Joker for what he did
Yeah.
to Jason, but at the same time
And they
too, he
don't.
did that
Yeah.
with Hush. But
Yeah.
but it
And
was just the
they don't address it.
uncircumstance of it. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I kind of fell in love with the character at that point as I was analyzing the book, where I'm like, oh, wow, they're not really debating that. They're not debating that at all. Bruce is going off of the moral line of, like, if I do that, then I'm a killer and I know that option's there and I will go for it because I'm a little fucked up. And Jason's like, that's the problem, dude. If you are a little fucked up, you probably shouldn't be doing this. Like, Jason addressed it as, I'm going to become a crime boss that slowly whittles down the worst parts of crime because crime will always exist. And Batman has a very black and white mentality on it. There is crime and
Yes.
there's not crime. And unfortunately, like, if you go back and read Jason's like Robin run, at that point Batman is a cop with a cape. He works so close with the GCPD. He is always has a battalion of cops following him up. Jason half the time is back at the precinct, like questioning the suspects and all of that. So like the Batman that Jason has seen is a cop. He's a cop without any of the legal stuff holding him back. So he does not see him as like doing enough. He's like, if you want to stop crime, you have to be a criminal. If you want to stop crime, you have to do it from the inside because otherwise they're not going to stop. You can't scare somebody out of financial insecurity. You can't scare somebody out of being an addict. You can't scare somebody out of half the shit that you're trying to scare them out of. There's a reason that Jason goes after drugs in Under the Hood. And it's not because it's like, oh yeah, a bank robber you can scare into stopping. A mugger you might be able to scare into stopping. But my dad was a goon. My mom was a drug addict. Like, you found me stealing your tires. We did this shit because we needed money. We did this shit
Yeah.
because we needed upward mobility. And you are not taking the people off the board who aren't doing it for those reasons. The people who are doing this just for the love of evil should not be around. There's no reason for you to allow this. And Batman doesn't fucking debate that. He just says, if I kill someone, I'm going to keep killing.
And he's focused on that. Yeah. Yeah,
and he's
you're
focused on that, even to the point that in Under the Red Hood, he tries to kill Jason on instinct. Because he says, fuck it, and he pulls the trigger at him, and Batman throws a batarang, and I've seen people say it's in the shoulder. Fuck them. Batman throws a batarang through Jason's neck,
His neck,
and it looks like
yes.
he drops to the floor and starts bleeding out.
Yes.
Because he chose to stop Jason over letting him kill the Joker. Because death is so terrifying to Batman. And I think that's a character flaw of Batman's that is really interesting to look into. But that is part of the reason that I really like Jason, is that he held a mirror up to Batman at that point and went, what are you actually doing? Why are you actually doing this? And you need to tell me why you're actually doing this. And in fact, I'm going to put you to the fucking test. Why do you do this? How are you going to stop me? And that kind of drove me to the character to such an extent that I really appreciate what can be said with Red Hood. And I think that's why I'm so upset that a lot of Red Hood stories from then on don't. A lot of Red Hood stories from then on treat him like he's crazy, treat him like he's insane and he's just this murderous psychopath. And I'll grant, in the book, he's a lot more of a murderous psychopath than he is in the movie. But like in the books after Under the Red Hood, they really don't know what to do with him because now he's just there. Now he's just around and he's just doing stuff. And they turn him into a supervillain for a while. There's one time he gets mutated. He's just out and about. Grant Morrison turns him into a psychotic maniac, and then, but then the New 52 happens, and and now he's just the edgy one. I don't know. The New 52, I feel, really did a number on Jason because they really turned him into just the edgy Robin.
I feel like
he's angry.
Yeah, I feel
don't
like
that.
Yeah, I feel like that same way with him too. Because at the same point, I had to tell people the fact that the webtoon version of Jason is kind of is similar to what the 52 is, and I have nothing against Batman Adventures, because how you feel about Jason, I feel that way about Duke Thomas, because I love Duke.
Yeah.
Duke's my favorite. I hate the unjustification of Duke, because I tell people especially in my
You just
community in
turned
the
me into
comic
the
book world of it.
everyman now. Yeah.
Oh, I know, because like I hate the fact that people. I'm like, first of all, this is the Jason that Bruce looks into his eyes and says, "You don't need to be a Robin. You actually have
Mm-hmm.
more intellectual skill and more experience in this than what I could even give you compared to all the other
Yeah.
people I bring under my wing. So I'm just going to have you be
Mm-hmm.
my equal for the daytime when it comes to that." And everything. So that, in the case of the legend, intelligent of it, if all even from 0 year. So I've had to tell people before about that when it comes to him, and I hate
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing with him even now. That I've had to tell people like at some point of it, I would prefer Duke be brought into any adaptation more than static, because most of my community, you probably hear 90% of the time,
Static.
we want static, and I have to tell them about the whole loopholes of how Milestone Media is in that sense of it. But back to that,
Yeah.
like the web comic, like there's a web comic for the Batman Family Adventures, which is more lighthearted
Mm-hmm.
for the younger audience, and that version of Jason in that book is a lot more of what the current one is. And I'm like, so what is Jason supposed to be like? What is he supposed to be, the emo or? And me
I'm
being
gonna
an
be
alternative
so
person,
real.
I'm like,
That
we,
fight.
we don't
Yeah.
want that. We don't want that. I'm
No.
like, look, I'm all for like having that representation from the alternative, but that's not what I want either from Jason. That Jason's not supposed to be that.
Yeah.
The moment you brought up about Morrison's the mutation, I'm like, that's the one time I will give Morrison not a pass, because I'm like,
No.
Damian is my Robin, but
Yeah.
I
Listen,
hate what he did with him on that.
I have a love-hate relationship with Grant Morrison, where I'm like, half the time their work is great. The other half of the time,
Yeah.
why get the fuck away from my characters.
Mm-hmm.
I really hate the racist shit that's done to Talia al Ghul. I really hate the like blatantly Islamophobic shit that they put on
Oh
Talia
my
al Ghul. Yeah, let's turn her
God.
into a rapist. That's the best way
Yeah,
to handle
like
things.
what was the point of
There's,
that? Oh my God.
yeah, it's you could have just led with the Son of the Demon story and
Demon.
just rolled with
Yes,
that, but you just decided not to do that.
I
But
literally
like so
I
much
literally
with
yeah.
Morrison's run, it
Yeah.
irks me. It irks me a
Yeah.
lot. But
I
like
lit
with and also all the love to the people who make the Gotham Adventures book. I can't fucking stand that story.
of course.
When reading it, it drives me up the wall because it is such a I always say, like, I never grew up reading fan fiction. I never grew up like ingesting fan fiction. It was never really for me. And I see so much just accepting the fanon versions of characters in Wayne Family Adventures, because it is very specifically like it's like a fix-it fic version of the entire family, where
Yeah.
it's we're gonna have everybody's living under the same roof because, oh, isn't it fun to have the whole family here.
Yeah.
We're going to flatten characters out to their most basic understandings of, like, oh, Jason's the angry one, and isn't Dick just a ball of sunshine, and Tim's
Yeah.
quiet and moody, and Damien's in the corner being like a little angry ninja all the time, and Duke Thomas
Yeah.
is the everyman because we also watched Spider-Verse and think he's like Miles. And we're
Yeah.
going to have Cassie and Stephanie are also here, and isn't Bruce such an adorable dad? It irks me because
Oh, no.
as somebody who, like, I hold on I am somebody who, with specifically the Bat Family, holds on to their darker moments a lot because people tend to either overwrite them or act like it's bad writing. Where I'm like, guys, you can't have a serious conversation about Batman without acknowledging the fact that he has abusive tendencies, even outside of the Robin thing. Like, if we accept
Yes.
the fact that Robin as a sidekick is an acceptable thing because it's a comic book, you have to acknowledge the fact that this man hits his kids when he gets mad. And not for training. He hits his children when he's angry. And he moves on from that. And they move on from that because it's part of the job. He also routinely neglects them, routinely makes them feel worthless. He routinely lashes out in anger towards them. He's not
Yes.
a good father. He
Father.
wants to be, he tries to be, but it's part of his character flaws. You have to acknowledge that one of his character flaws is he's not good as a dad. He's
Yeah.
really, he will try his hardest, and he gets better the longer he does it, but he's not good at it because he doesn't really know how to be.
Yeah.
I always point to, like, his first interaction, his first relationship with his children is Dick. And his relationship with Dick is a lot closer to, like, Obi-Wan and Anakin than it
Yeah.
is to a father-son relationship. they don't know if they're brothers or if they are father and son, because he adopted Dick when he was like 22. He's young. He was young and Dick was young, and they were both very, and he adopted Dick, who was like, I think in the original 9 when he was 22. So he is very young adopting someone who could be his younger sibling. And they don't really know how to operate in terms of if they're father and son, if they're supposed to operate like brothers. Dick thinks of Alfred at just as much like a father as he thinks of Bruce as that. And then when him and Dick have a falling out, because of course they fucking do, he adopts Jason outright. And he treats Jason like a son. He calls Jason son. He adopts him fully. He does all of these things. He doesn't make him his ward. He just makes him part of the family and tries to treat him like a father. But what he is actually doing is trying to treat him like Dick. And that doesn't work, which is what drives Jason away. And then Jason fucking dies. And now Bruce is permanently scarred by the fact that if you try and be a father, they will be taken from you. Every family member you have will be stolen from you. And then he takes Tim in. And Tim, he doesn't adopt for how long? Like, Tim has his own family. Tim has a father and a mother and a house. Like, he's just here for work. He's not here to be Robin. He's not here. Well, he's not here to be his kid. He's here to be Robin, but that's it. And Bruce doesn't really know how to handle that. And then eventually he adopts him, and now he really doesn't know how to handle that, because now he's really used to having Tim be this, like, ghost in the night who just shows up. And then he gets Damien. So now the only fatherhood experience that he has is his kind of brother, kind of father relationship with Dick, his ends in tragedy father-son relationship with Jason, his not really a dad until it has to be relationship with Tim, and then Damien, who's now in his care fully, and he's 12 and also has every negative lesson you want him to avoid baked in.
Already,
Already. Batman, as much, he tries to be a good father because he really desperately wants to be. And when he is, he's great. But it's impossible to acknowledge Batman without acknowledging the fact that he is inherently abusive, regardless of if you accept the fantasy of everything or not. Like, completely neglecting the fact that he throws 9-year-olds in colorful costumes and throws them at criminals that were in comics. That's normal. But if you just go, as a father with children, he's not good. He's not a good father figure. And you have to accept that before you have a serious discussion about Batman. So when you have Wayne Family Adventures that treats him like an adorkable dad who just has all of his family under the same roof, and isn't it like Full House? I'm like, this is not Bruce. This is just fucking, this is fucking Rando McGee. Who's this guy? And then they have Jason show up, and Jason is like, yeah, I don't like you. I'm different. I'm mean. I'm out there. But you know what? I'm still gonna live in the house. I'm still gonna live here. Sure, I have my own apartment, but you'll always see me in the house. I'm always here because Alfred makes the best cookies, and I love messing with my brothers. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Oh God, yeah.
Every other month, you and Batman have a fist fight. There is no way you're here. Like,
no. Honestly, like that angle, and I was gonna bring that up to the case of, like, you know, Jason's the only one to point out to Bruce, like, you were a terrible dad. You know that, right, Bruce? You're the terrible. Dick has never. I don't remember Dick at one point saying it in the sense of it. I don't remember at one point Tim ever saying it that much of the case of it. Damien, I don't think is running across. Jason's the only one I've actually known who's come up to Bruce and be like, Bruce, you're a terrible dad. I'm proof of the fact that you're a terrible dad. And that web series, like, I agree with you 100%. Taking out the trauma and just making it all go lucky sense of that makes no fucking sense. I attached more because of the fact I'm like,
Jason being Red Hood means he died, meaning Joker killed him, meaning Batman had a dark streak. Tim being here means Batman almost killed a couple people.
Yes.
How the fuck are we doing happy-go-lucky anything?
Yes, like there's the one moment where it's like all three of them having like a bet game night. I'm like, there would never be a moment those three would have a game night. Like, what kind of stuff is that? And then I have a thing with Cassandra in that book, which is why it's also understandable on the one of it. I don't
Yeah.
like what they did with Cassandra in that. I don't.
No.
I like Cassandra with how traumatic her situation is would never have an interaction with any of them like that at all, because it was in the sense of it. And don't even get me started with Stephanie Brown. Like my bane of existence is I can't stand the existence of Stephanie. I do not care for anything in the sense
Really?
of it. Yes, I cannot stand Stephanie. How chauvinistic she is in the sense of it, in my opinion. Even when she was spoiler, in the sense of it, where it's like where she's like competing up the case of it with Tim and Jason. Like I come from a family of villains in the sense of it. Like I got some more experience than all of y'all combined. I'm like nobody wants
Yeah.
your ego. We don't want that. I don't want that in the sense of it. So that's what
You know
made me
what?
hate
I'm
her so
I'm
much of it.
I'm gonna challenge. I'm gonna challenge you here because me and Mirren have gone back and forth on it a couple of times. And the one thing that changed my mind on Stephanie, because I always saw Stephanie as like a footnote in the history of Robin, because it was like, oh, she popped up for a little while and then she disappeared. She was Tim's girlfriend, and she shows up every now and again in other books, but I never really saw her. She completely changed my mind on it through one simple fact. Stephanie is Jason. Stephanie is pre-death Jason.
Wow, I can
Stephanie
see it.
is Stephanie grew up on the streets of Gotham City. She decided to be a vigilante in her own right. She had to fight against her villain father at every step of the way.
Yeah,
And when she was eventually made into Robin, she died tragically at the hands of a villain. And ultimately, if you look at the history of Stephanie Brown, she is just Jason Todd without meeting Batman. And
okay.
in the history of looking at her, it's part of the reason that to me when she's treated as like the valley girl of the group, I don't like it because to me I'm like no, this is the one person in this entire group outside of Duke Thomas and Tim Drake who chose this life. Dick Grayson was brought in as a baby or like 9 years old. Jason
Yes.
Todd was just a street kid that Batman showed a different way. Tim Drake sought this out, and he's the only Robin to ever choose to be Robin. Damian was told it was his responsibility to do so. He didn't choose this; he was
Yeah,
forced
he didn't
into it.
choose it. No.
Duke Thomas chose to be Robin because he's the like originator of the We Are Robin movement, and then chose
Yes.
to be the Signal afterward.
Yes.
And I will grant him that, but he's also a lot closer in personality to any of the super family than he is to the Bat family. He's not
True.
as mentally in the dark as the rest of them. And he chooses to do this because he wants a better future. He wants to be able to bring people out of the darkness that is Gotham City. He
Yes.
lives in the light. He's the he's the daytime superhero.
Yes.
Stephanie Brown, completely untied to anybody, completely untied to the Bat family, not assuming she was ever going to meet the Bat family, took upon herself being a superhero because her father was a villain and she knew it. And she knew she was the only person who could stop it. And as much as I 100%, because I grew up not really reading Stephanie at all, having it pointed out to me that she has pretty much the same backstory as Jason, pretty much the same position in the family as Robin Jason, and is given the amount of respect as Jason is before he died, which is basically nothing, it kind of changed my view on her. So whenever she like does some whack shit in the books, I would challenge you to look at it more as going like, okay, what if this was Jason? If this was Jabin, like Three Apples Tall Jabin, how would I feel about this instead? Because 9 times out of 10, it's the same story that they would have written if Jason Todd Robin was there. Because think about it, her dying is the exact same scenario. She
Yeah.
takes a plan of Batman's and executes it without his permission. Jason Todd died because he went to save somebody when Batman told him not to move.
Not to do so. Yep. I never thought about it that way. Because like the last story I read about it was Future's End one shot with Batgirl, where it was
Yeah.
her and Babs and that, and it just rubbed me off on the sense of it with her compared to the case of Bab. Like I'm not even going to go over the fact that the Bane Babs that was in that book was just so bizarre for me. But yeah, that was the last
Yeah.
time I read in the sense of her like involvement in sense of it. Because I've told
Mm,
people before, like it's Barb's and Cassie. Those are the two that I was going to. But Stephanie always that rubbed me in a sense of it. But looking at it from that perspective, with her
mm,
story and her arc of it, because again, yeah, like you said, you're absolutely right. Like with her villainous father, and then the fact of her having a trauma situation no different than Jason, it does make sense now. It does. It
mm.
doesn't change them how I feel. My anger to her, like I'm
No,
not
of
gonna have
course
that
not.
anger,
But like,
but you know, at least to some stuff, like okay, I get that now of it, but at the same time of it, still don't like you, but I'm not gonna have that enraged like I usually have with you in a sense of it.
yeah. And also, I always look at her because like she died because the writer was like a misogynist. She died
Yeah.
for the same reason Jason did too, of like the I
Hmm.
don't like you, so I'm just gonna kill you.
Yeah.
And anytime a writer uses their power to just like I don't like this character, so they're going away. I always hate that shit because I'm
Oh,
like, but you're not the only writer in the fucking room, dude. You're not
yeah.
the only one who has that decision making capacity.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I get it to a certain extent, and I had my mind changed on it later. So it's
Uh,
something to definitely look into as well.
okay, that makes complete sense in sense of it. Let's go off of that with the writer situation
Mm,
about it, because you mentioned the fact of like there's certain writers. I don't know if you've like gone to Threads particularly, but Miss Gail Simone has been dealing with a lot of people who've been sending a lot of things to her in a sense of it, and I would figure maybe bringing this up in the topic because I've had to interact it a couple times too. Because we all,
mm,
you and I both know, I'm pretty sure, like with the history of what Gail when it comes to her employment in
oh
the
yeah.
sense of it. Because last time I remember, like when she was involved in the Batgirl story arc in for the 52 beforehand, a lot of
Mm,
people were sending a lot of shit with her on that case of it, and I
yeah.
didn't like the hate that she was getting with that before she left in DC in a sense. So
Yeah.
with that being said, in the sense of it, I want to use that as a turn of base when it comes to particular writers in the sense of it.
Mm,
So like I said before, Sean is one of the many writers that I like in his work in the sense of it when it comes to Batman in that sense of it, along
mm,
with I think two others in that case of it. Because I do love Jeff Loeb. I met him this year actually at Motor City Comic Con. I actually got to ask him about, you know, when it comes to Hush 2, which I still need to finish to some extent of it because I've read it all, but I just need to finish it physically wise. When
mm.
it comes to like certain characters that he wanted to put into it. And I do remember him saying there was at one point one character he wanted to phase off of it instead of Riddler. And then the fact I had to ask him about the animated movie, if that had anything, he's like, I had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with that animated movie because I told him, I said, please, I begged him, I said, please tell me, Jeff, you had nothing to do with that animated film
Please
because
tell me
that
that wasn't
animated,
you, man.
please, yeah, I begged him that. He's like, oh no, I had absolutely nothing to do with that. I understand your frustration. I would have never went that angle either because I told him, I said, that movie so hurt me so bad because I was like, nothing of that movie necessarily had to be the way it was. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I just was so, like, pearls clutched bad, sad about that because, like, so I was like, I talked to him on that case of it, but I loved his writing too. So when he left
Right.
after DC and he went to Marvel, like I stuck with most of everything he did with Marvel Television. But I
Mm,
said to myself, I want him to come back to DC in the sense of it for doing writing again because I loved his writing. So my question to
right.
you is there a particular writer that you always gravitate towards that you were finding interest in? And was there ever a writer that you just the moment you hear their name, you're just like everything that this man writes about, I cannot stand, and I will never pick up an issue that deals with his writing ever. Is there ever been that moment? And whether it's
Mark
DC or
Wade
Marvel, we
and
have
then
to.
Rob Liefeld. Mark Wade is my always gravitate. Rob
Okay,
Liefeld is my stay the fuck away from my characters.
okay,
And Mark Wade, I have told multiple people over a multitude of years that I don't think Mark Wade can write a bad book. I don't think it's possible. Because if you look at 90% of his runs, he usually gets brought in to uh, do things that involve a vast majority of whatever universe he's writing in, or completely reinvent a character, or to like write a standout run of a character. And Mark Wade, I fell in love with him at Kingdom Come. I read Kingdom Come way too young and didn't really understand it, and then I read it as an adult, and it's still my favorite book. Uh, if you look at all of his major runs, his run on The Flash is one of the best received ever.
oh
He is
yeah,
the I'm not Daredevil guy from his run on Daredevil. His run on World's Finest is fucking great. His run on Justice League Unlimited right now.
Unlimited,
Justice
yeah.
League Unlimited is fucking great. He rewrote Archie for a graphic novel series. And that turned out fucking incredible. I don't think Mark Waid has the capacity to write a bad book. He's usually brought in to either fix fuck ups or do things that will smooth out the universe, or if someone really needs an understanding of the multiverse of characters, of how characters interact with each other, Mark Waid gets brought in to do that. I don't think Mark Waid can write something bad. I love everything Mark Waid writes.
Okay.
Rob Liefeld, on the other hand, I don't think should have ever touched a comic book.
We can.
I love Deadpool. He didn't make what Deadpool is.
No,
He
no.
made a Deathstroke ripoff and stuck with that. And if anybody can point to a single other thing that Rob Liefeld has done that had any impact on anything at all that was positive, I'll grant a little bit of leeway there. Because pretty much anything else, I'm like, no, I don't think this guy should have ever touched a comic book in his life. I can't understand how he still gets work. I don't know. I can't deal with it.
I've had to tell people, and you'll probably understand this because I use a lot of analogy sense of it. But I have said for the longest, when it comes to Rob, because we can both agree on Rob. We can both agree on Rob. I have no problem being proud of having him blocking me on Twitter. But I have said this before. Rob, in my opinion, is the Bob Kane for Deadpool. He literally is. Because
100%. Absolutely.
Fabian was at Motor City Comic Con. I was so close to meeting him. I still own the first issue of the short series. And I was so close to meeting him. If it wasn't for a family emergency, that I had to leave, and that was the one person I wanted to meet there. That's what sold me to going to Motor City Comic Con was Fabian Nashid was there, and I was like, oh, I have to meet him because I wanted to say that to his face. I said, sir, you are the Bill Finger for Deadpool because you don't get enough credit, and it's disrespectful in the fact that Rob is out there in the spotlight taking all the credit that you are responsible for. Because I've had to say that for years when it comes to him. Because I said the fact that Fabian does not get respect is so discerning for me because I said agreeing with it because I'm like Rob is so Bob Kane coded. It's not even funny. Like you shouldn't touch ever a comic book in your life of it. You don't know anatomy from the lick of you that Captain America cover. It's already there of it, and you don't like it in the sense of it. So like everything about you, Rob, just disgusts me on you being like the Bob Kane for Deadpool.
Dude,
and
even
Fabian
your
just
art
sits
style
there.
isn't original. You're just Jim Lee with worse skills.
Yes. And you see Jim running the company now, so obviously he knows he's doing something right. But like I've had to use that analogy for years when it comes to Rob. I said he is the Bob Kane for Deadpool because Fabian doesn't get respect enough of it as it is. And I was going to say that to him in a sense of it. So I can 100% agree with you with Rob. Like I've told people before, I'm proud enough to know that I don't own any comic book that Rob has ever touched. It's the one thing of like my collection is pristine without a Rob Liefeld issue at all, and I have no shame on that sense of it. Mark, however, I will say like I do believe his Justice League Unlimited is underappreciated, but I loved his World Finest. I do love his World Finest because I've had to get my brother convinced on reading that. It is so good, and I said before I'm like I wish. I have nothing against what the last variation of World Finest was. Nothing if you take away those crazy variant covers that they were doing during that time of it, with that last 52 of it. But that his run with it was so damn good. I just said to myself, like, I wish they had more focused on that for adapting. I really do.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, and when it comes to Kingdom Come, like it's no competition, nothing just introduction wise when it comes to Kingdom Come, like how iconic it is of it. And in my end of it, like I do love the like with Alex's art adding with it, with Alex Ross's art with it, just absolutely. I would love to own a piece from him, if anything, in the sense of it. I love that in the case of it.
You got a couple $1,000.
Like,
that man is my favorite artist of all time.
Oh
I've tried
yes.
my entire fucking life to get anything.
Oh yes. Like I've said that to people before. So I love, I tell people, I'm like, I love with how Alex's stuff of it's so incredible. Adding
Mm.
both of those in the sense of it, just, yeah, Kingdom Come, just absolutely out on board with you on that sense of it. So,
Weird, weird thing here. If you've seen the newest Superman movie, the shot that everybody really like, one of the biggest shots from that movie, is
oh yeah,
Superman rising out of the destruction of
destruction.
that
Yep,
building.
yep.
Um,
I knew what you were talking
I
about.
really I know for a fact that James Gunn is a big fan of Kingdom Come. Because again, the logo for one.
Hmm.
But that shot, I have told everybody my entire life that there's one shot from Kingdom Come which is my favorite in it, and it's because I started reading it when I was an edgy teenager. But there is a shot in Kingdom Come near the end of the story where there's a giant war of superheroes and the government drops a nuke on them.
Yep.
And Captain Marvel tries to stop it, but he's too late. And my favorite shot from that entire book is a splash page, and it's Superman in the center of the page, and around him is a nuclear wasteland.
Yeah.
It is completely whited out. It's all in like black and gray,
Yep.
except
The
for
destruction
him.
and everything.
And it's the skeletons and destruction of everything around him.
Yeah.
And when I watched Superman, I realized that James Gunn was putting his Superman in direct contrast with that shot in Kingdom Come, because that shot of the building falling and the smoke rising up, it's almost the same shot but reversed. Instead of Superman on the ground surrounded by the grayscale and the darkness of the sun being blotted out, he is rising above that grayscale shot, and he's still center frame, rising above the grayscale smoke
Grayscale.
of destruction.
Yep. And with the light coming from the sky and
with
such
the
of
light
it.
coming down.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful shot, but as soon as
Oh
I
my
saw it, I
God.
went, "That's Kingdom Come. That's a shot
Yeah.
from Kingdom Come." But it's contrasted. It's a contrasted shot from Kingdom Come. It's not the exact same. It's the exact opposite. And it shows how hopeful this Superman is, because what happens immediately after that moment in Kingdom Come is Superman snaps and he goes dark and he tries to kill something.
Yep.
He goes to the UN and he tries to bring the building down. And this Superman is actively saving people. This building
Yes.
was destroyed because he tried to save one single
One
person,
single
and he
person.
succeeded. And he
Yes.
tried to get over it to look and to make sure that they were okay. And as
Yes.
soon as I saw that, I understood the visual like metaphor that was being told. And it might be me that was like extrapolating this whole feeling from it, but as soon as I saw that, I went, "Son of a bitch, that's Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
That's the shot. That's
I
the
was-
shot I always tell people about."
I was so hoping you said that, because I was like, I know with that shot of it, it just, I was like, I didn't like think of the comic that's particular, but I'm like,
Yeah.
that is an Alex Ross coded shot.
Right,
And like,
exactly.
it's so Alex Ross coded. Like the lighting and everything on that moment of it, and just even when the girl is looking in the mirror seeing that, I was like, that is so Alex Ross coded. I can't even fucking believe it. But at the same time, I'm like, this is James Gunn we're talking about. This man knows his comics. He knows his fucking comics. So I'm like, he knows this. It has to be that. I'm just so
gotta be.
upset. Like during the junket, no one asked that. That's my only one qualm with it. I just
No.
wish somebody did, because there have been moments like
you gotta
that.
be a
throughout the
very
movie.
specific fan to see that
Yes,
shit. But
yes. Oh my God. I'm so glad you're like, no, you're not alone. I'm so glad that moment, because I almost got up my seat when I saw that case of it, because I was like, that is so Alex Ross coded. I know his work to know that's an Alex Ross coded. Oh my God. Like, so I'm so glad you pointed that out. But yeah, like that movie in particular sense of it, because I like I told you before at the Colossal, the fact of that movie, I told people before, like moments like that, if I had known about that movie early in my career, but nothing against the Donner films, nothing against Christopher Reeve, that would have made me convinced being more of a Superman fan, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Because I told people,
entirely.
it's like, I'm not a Superman fan to the sense of like, I don't like the character. It's just I never gravitated for it, because it was just a character that was different in that sense of it, and nothing attached to me to it. And none of the Donner's movies did that. Like there are great movies, not mad on to some of them, at least with the case of it. The Mothers and Man of Steel didn't do that for me either, but it was still a great movie in the sense of it. But this one, I was like, this could have been the movie if I was younger. If you had gotten like 12, 13-year-old Donnie when he was reading comics, if you had showed this movie to him, he would gravitate definitely to Superman as a fan more than Batman. definitely.
we're gonna have a huge wave of kids whose favorite superhero is Superman going
Yeah.
forward, and I'm so happy for it. I legitimately was talking. I had a different interview that I was doing a little while ago, and they had brought up the movies that I grew up with and like how that influenced me, and I was talking to them about the fact that growing up as a DC fan, it's growing up my age as a DC fan, there is not any options. There was the animated movies and that was it. Because every version of the character that was on that was in live action, every version of every character was horrendously mischaracterized no
Yes.
matter what the movie is. And because if you think of any DC movie from 2000 to 2025, you're kind of out of luck because
Yeah.
like Superman Returns, again, kind of a darker version of the Richard Donner films. It's fine, but it's not great.
Great.
Then
Yeah.
you get Man of Steel, completely misunderstands the character of Superman and tries to push him in a very darker path. It's a good movie in its own right
Yes.
to an extent, but it completely misunderstands the character it's adapting. If it was not Superman, it would be a different character.
Yes.
If it didn't say Superman, this would not be him.
Yes.
Then as much as the Nolan films revitalize the Batman brand, I think that there's nothing more damaging to the history of Batman than Christopher Nolan, because of the direction that Batman has taken after his movies. Of this, first of all, I think it's Frank Miller and Christopher Nolan because Batman's never recovered from being the Dark Knight Returns grim, emotionless, dark shadow of a person.
Yeah.
But then the Christopher Nolan movies specifically were like, we are going to make the Joker a very specific kind of person. He is no longer crazy. He is no longer an embodiment of pure chaos. He's a terrorist. He is specifically a terrorist. And he is trying to show the world that everyone's just as crazy as he is, or just as nihilistic as he is. And that's not the Joker's motivation. The Joker's motivation is the pure chaos of humanity. What one frail, meek person is able to do when they don't care anymore.
Yes.
And that is horrifying. And enjoying evil for the pure comedy of it. That is the Joker. That's why the Joker's scary. That's one of the reasons that I haven't really jumped on Absolute Joker, is because that big monster picture, to me,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not Joker. That's not scary. Joker is scary because Joker's a guy. Joker's scary because he's just a guy. He's just a dude with no inhibitions, no restrictions, no nothing. That's the only reason he's terrifying, and he loves it, and he loves being evil. The problem I got when I watched like Dark Knight as an adult, because as a kid it kicked ass, but as an adult who loves Batman, watching The Dark Knight now, I go, oh, okay, Gotham's just Chicago now. I made a post like 3 days ago where I talked about like what city is Gotham in, and I got so many people saying Chicago, and I'm like, do you guys remember that Gotham is gothic as fuck, like everywhere? Like Gotham is supposed to be a neo-gothic like hellscape. Like the closest approximation of what Gotham looks like we've ever gotten is a Schumacher movie. And
well, I mean, true on that sense, but Tim, I still think had some quality.
Tim Burton, like it started with Tim Burton, but like the Schumacher movies of going like crazy architecture is usually what you end up seeing Gotham as.
The only thing I will say,
Christopher Nolan takes over.
Yeah. But at the same time of it, to tap in a little bit on the input when it comes to Schumacher, my only thing of it, and this is why I feel like Schumacher, it's hard to agree with the sense of it. Every time I have to tell people, I say Schumacher turned Gotham into Vegas. I hate the neon lighting of it. I hate all the color sense of it. When it comes to the darker moments, absolutely. But when it comes to those moments where light is involved, he turns it into Vegas and Cirque du Soleil. And I'm like, I do not want any of that. Like, why? Like the part when it comes to the beginning of the movie with the guy in the banker, the security guard in the tanker, when Two-Face is carrying it out and he's in that whole moment. What is with all that red lighting? What was the whole point of that? Like, it frustrates me on that.
I always interpreted the Schumacher movie. Now, again, as a kid, I hated them, but now, looking back at them with a little bit kinder eyes, I always think of them as this is a very big budget version of an Adam West movie. Yeah. And it's if you gave the Adam West show $10 million. and said make a movie.
Yeah.
And as much as that doesn't appeal to my sensibilities now, I also can look at them and go, I can see what you're going for. I can see
Yes.
what you want to do, because what you want to do is have a very flamboyant and bright and colorful version of Gotham, of Batman, because at that point the nostalgia that they're going for is Adam West, because it's the 90s. So like you go that
Yes.
30-year, it's like 25 years that usually nostalgia kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for that nostalgic vibe, what you're going to go for is the 60s, and that's Adam West. And Adam West had the colors and the stupid gimmicks, and people can't act, and
Yep.
all of these things are ridiculous. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what you're seeing there. That's why like 5 years earlier when it was Tim Burton, they were looking at the dark detective. They were looking at the pulp hero. They were looking at the Joker says he's going to kill 4 people at midnight, and
Yes.
Batman needs to go and find him at that point, and that's why he ends up becoming darker. And that's usually why that adaptation ends up looking the way it does. But that's also why when Nolan takes over and he starts going darker again, what he's looking at is year 1. Because that's that 25-year jump back. He's looking at Batman year 1 and going, Frank Miller. All right, so we're going to go to for Frank Miller's like darker Batman doesn't really know how to be a person. He's just a shadow. He's just a Bruce Wayne is just a
Yeah.
shell for Batman to live in, and
Yeah.
and all of these things, and it's part of the reason that I don't rewatch the Nolan movies at all, because
Honestly,
I don't
yeah.
think that they really understand Batman. I think that they're making a character that's very close to Batman. I think Begins is probably the closest in feeling to an actual Batman like story. And
Honestly,
then
I agree with that.
after
Yeah.
that, it gets too real. I know that the entire idea is like, what if Batman was real? This is what it's going to look like. But I'm like, okay, but the tank? Do we need a tank? Do we need an actual fucking tank? Does Wayne Manor does Wayne Enterprises need to just be a big building, not a charity, not anything fancy? Gotham just is Chicago now. Okay, all right. And yeah, comics have kind of taken after that from there. But that's also part of the reason that, like, growing up, if you're a DC fan, you never get comic booky anything. Because Man of Steel was also, we're going to make a dark, real world version of Superman. And then Superman Returns is, we're going to make a more real world version of the Donner films. And then the Dark Knight and the entire Dark Knight trilogy, we're going to make a dark, real world version of Batman. You don't get comic book anything. You don't get
No.
any sort of fun. You don't get campy. You don't get any sort of joy from any of it. It's all very, very dark and grounded and serious,
Yeah.
because that's what superheroes ought to be. And
Yeah.
like the later DCEU films try for it, but since it's built on a bedrock of like dark seriousness, it's really hard to go into that like, oh, we're going to get fun and wacky and weird now. So starting off from a place of like, yeah, Superman wears trunks on the outside so that kids go up to him. And Green Lantern is here, and he just exists, and people know that, and that's fine. And there's
Yeah.
characters like Mr. Terrific and the Justice Society that existed.
Yes.
And there's a history that goes back 300 years. And all of these things is great. I love the fact that Superman is not the first superhero. I love the fact
No.
that Superman's not regarded as some like, oh my God, he's like a god among men. Because that's
Yes.
never been Superman's struggle.
Yeah,
That's
and that
never
was-
been anything.
Yeah, and that is literally a Snyder thing of a sense of it, because I had to tell that to people too as well in the case of it, because Snyder put him in a god complex. He put him in a complex with Men of Steel of it. I'm just like,
He wanted him to be Jesus. He wanted
Yes.
Superman to be Jesus, and it
this is
doesn't
it, like,
work.
I'm like, I had to show that, and then like one of my friends who's a huge Superman fan, I told him, I said, watch Dawn of Justice, the scene where Superman is saving that country area, and everyone's just crawling up to him while he's looking up because he's in this flooded area. I said, tell me that does not make him look godlike. Tell me that's not what Snyder
yeah.
was trying to do.
It's supposed to
and
look
that
like
was
a
the
Renaissance
problem with
painting.
him.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Exactly.
very on point. And that's why I tell people, that's why I said I didn't really return the Man of Steel. I'm like, it was always in the case of it. The fact that Clark is in a small little town, Smallville, like as small as it gets of it, being with a family, with the mom and pop camp, the country home families. It's supposed to gravitate to the point of he's no different than living in the normal society. He wasn't born in a rich household. He wasn't born in a poor household. He was born in a middle class area. He was raised in that area sense of it, and learning to be raised in that society, in normal people's society. No different than you and I when we were raised in the middle class sense of it. Because like the only time that he was ever born in a more higher ground of class was the Elseworlds Superman from Speeding Bullets. That was the only time I remember. So I'm like, that's what I loved about it. And they flexed on that more in this James Gunn version. And I love that. I was like, it's like I could visit Superman's house if I wanted to, because he's just the guy in that sense of it. So again, when you and I said it's in sync with you in Colossus, and I stand on that. The fact that we both looked at each other saying, he's just a guy. That is so damn good. So damn good on that case of it for James for that. And that's why I had to tell people, like, I wish I had gravitated toward this Superman when I was growing up. I would have loved him even more. I'm like, the fact of, and then obviously the punk rock aesthetic sense of it that James has put in embedded in the movie in the case of it. I'm like, that all in the sense of it, like, abso-fucking-lutely. I love that.
100%.
I do. So yeah,
but
like
feels like
Superman,
it gets it, and I love that.
So and that's why I said. So I completely agree with you in that sense of it with the case of it, even going all the way back with like Kingdom Come back to that sense of it. So I want to touch on your sketch work of it, honestly, because you had mentioned a while back about your writing in the sense of it. Because one of the two sketch works that I love the case of it, I got to bring up about Bill the Henchman. I got to bring up about him. It's been a minute we've seen Bill. It's been a minute though. So
I did just make a skit with Bill. I did just recently with Crazy Quill.
With Crazy Quill, yeah. I just saw that recently though. But at the same time of it, like I was one of the people who got into Bill, the sense of it. So how did Bill come to be in that sense of it? Because I know like there has to be not a longer writing process, but some writing process when it came to that. Because I'm like,
to an extent, yeah.
Because I'm like, I wish Powerless would have done this. If Powerless had done this angle in a show like this with Bill the Henchman, I definitely would have watched. I told people before, I said, think of it the same way Powerless, but from the perspective of the henchman. Like, he is just dealing with the shit he is with his villains and everybody, and with every interaction in that sense of it, and it makes it so damn entertaining, to the point where other people have started doing sketch work with Bill in the character. Because I've seen about 4 or 5 other influencers who have made stories and videos based on Bill, referring to the lore from Bill. So how did Bill come to be?
I've been sent fan fictions where Bill's a main character. I've seen I've had people tell me where they're like, there's Batfam fics that don't mention you at all that Bill shows up in. And I'm like, that's fucking, I love that.
Yes.
Bill kind of came around because his first 2 introductions he was just one of the henchmen that got beat. I saw a video from another creator that was a joke about, I think it's a creator called Matt Will Post. And he made a video forever ago that was the first guys to get beat up by Batman. And it was like, he was making jokes of like, I think he was in full leather. Like, I think a guy in a gimp suit dropped from the sky, kicked my ass. I think he ran over Tommy with like a tank. I'm not sure. And I thought that was fucking hilarious. And I went, that's hilarious. But you want to know what's even funnier? Batman's got a child who runs with him, and he kicks equal amounts of ass. So what about the first guy to get his ass kicked by Robin? And the video was entirely like him in the hospital, like he was a kid in a Speedo, and he beat my ass. And I think he had a stick. I'm not sure. And he broke my fucking legs, and then his boss came by and stole my femurs, and I don't know what the fuck happened, man. And that was the whole joke. And I was like, oh, okay. I had him show up twice. I had him show up one time where he got his ass kicked by Robin because he didn't want to fight a kid. And then the next time when he tried to fight the kid, and the kid just utterly whooped him because of it.
Yeah, he beat the fuck out of him. Yeah, and that was the one.
And from there I was like, okay, having a henchman that just kind of shows up, that's funny. So I'm just going to have a guy who's always the henchman, who's always there. And like, I think like subconsciously I took some inspiration from like Turk, from like the Netflix shows. Cause there was always like, Turk was like a low level, like the person of influence in the crime world that would show up in all the Netflix shows.
Yes.
And I thought that was a really funny idea, but I'm like, no, 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 no. Goons in like DC, in like that world, that's like a blue collar job. Like you have to. This is something that like you can't just work for one dude. You're not going to be like a very. You're not going to get anywhere or make any money if you just work for the Joker. What happens when they go to jail? So
Yeah.
goons have to be shared around. They have to be people who get sent from like bad guy to bad guy, and they just have to do this job. So I was like, okay, the entire joke behind this character is going to be that he is just low level blue collar worker who goes from henchman to henchman. He's worked for everybody a little bit. He knows his way around the block. The Robins have seen him. Batman's seen him. They know him. They know that he's there, and they're like, "Bill, what the fuck are you doing here, man?"
Oh,
Kind of
yes.
like a Hydra Bob situation where it's just like a, "Hey, I remember
Yeah,
you."
yeah.
That's where it kind of started, and from there, because I've been doing this for so long, I've evolved him. Instead of just being like the low level grunt, he's the guy who's been around the block a number of times now. So like he knows everything. Like he's like, here's the color code for all of the Bat fam, and which ones are gonna kill you, which ones are gonna fuck you up, which ones are gonna beat the shit out of you, like which ones are you really need to worry about and which ones you don't. Uh that was the first thing that I kind of decided on, was he was just going to be this like running gag of he's the guy who knows his way around the DC universe through the lens of being a henchman. And then as I started developing like the Goonian idea of being like the henchman's union, I was like, okay, so he's like their spokesperson essentially, because he's
Yeah.
been around the block so many times. He's gonna be the person being like, you got to get represented, man. Like this is bullshit. Don't have your supervillains throwing you out in situations that they know is gonna kill you. Like you need to have some coverage, because. And I had a running joke. I had a running joke that Batman kicks the shit out of people so hard that he steals their bones really early on.
Yeah.
And there's one of the running jokes for Bill is that he stole all the bones in his legs at least 3 times. So now he just has like completely prosthetic femurs and shin bones and everything, just because there's no other way that he was able to survive those things.
Oh my God.
But that's like the whole joke behind it. And then like I had people send in like things for Bill. There's like, apparently I never really watched Harry Potter growing up, but apparently there's a thing in there called bone regrowth serum. And
Yeah.
somebody sent him like a small vial of bone regeneration serum on a necklace that he can wear. And like I started the character by being like, his identifying factors, he's wearing this black hat. That's all he wears. He
Yep.
is like the black
the
ball
hat,
cap
black hat.
outfit.
Yeah.
But then I started kind of. He has like a full costume now. Like I have a full character design for
Yeah,
what
that's
Bill
what-
looks like.
that-
And it's like he's got like a black denim jacket. He wears a necklace that has that regeneration serum on it. His shirt is either black or his Goonian shirt,
Goonian
and he's
shirt.
wearing a black ball cap.
Yes.
Everything else is up to interpretation.
Yeah.
And that is, I kind of just rolled with that because that is what the character really is. Because being this sort of henchman who's everywhere, he kind of has to be able to fit in anywhere.
Yeah. And that's what I love about the character, with the growth of it, because I'm just like, with how much it progressed to, like, I've seen a few other people who try to have some of the cases of it with, like, there's one other influencer I know, this one black influencer, where it's basically he's talking about like his ass getting beat by certain superheroes in the sense of it, but then it goes beyond the comic books to other characters. But I've never seen like a character that was derived in that sense of it from the henchman perspective, which is crazy. You mentioned about Turk, because I had to tell people a lot about Turk, and the first thing that came in my mind was Turk and the henchman from Venture Brothers, if you know what I'm talking about. With
Yeah,
him.
I
That was
did
the other one.
very much.
That's who
That's what take some influence there.
Yeah, that's what took my attention with it. I was like, he's almost like Venture Brothers with it, because
I'm doing
I honestly
13.
I see so much in that first. Then I saw Turk, and I'm like, you know what? People don't realize about Turk on that same thing either, because I'm like, people think it was Rosario Dawson's the connection. No, Turk has been in all the worlds of the Marvel worlds of it. So
Everything.
It's crazy. So yeah, like all that. So those were things that gravitated to what I saw within Bill the Henchman, and I'm just like, I'm loving the gag of it, of all of that. So, and just entertaining to the point where there's a Goonian and such. And I'm just like, it's so fucking entertaining as hell. And like reaction, I'm like, I would have done the same thing in a sense perspective in working this, and then working from other villain to villain in the sense of it. So it was so awesome on those cases of it. And I love those in particular. And then the other thing I want to bring up, and I it's the one that I personally feel like it gravitates attention to you 90% of the time when it comes to anything of your content. Regrettable superhero of the week. I got to bring up on it.
Yes.
I love this part of your segment of it because so many of the characters that you bring up randomly in this series is so freaking surprising. Like the Skate Man, which was the latest one I watched. That one blew my mind. Neil did that? Neil Adams. You're talking Neil Adams made a skate guy. That is so insane. Like the last time I met him, 5 years ago, I met him at back when Wizard World was Fan Expo, before it was Fan Expo. Met him. He was doing a commission of Batman. I'm just telling him like, dude, I'm so happy the fact that you still can do this after all these years. He's like, what makes you think I didn't stop? And I'm just cracking up. And I'm saying this to him while I'm going to take a picture of the 60 Batmobile from the Adam West show. And he's laughing about that. That was the last time I met him. I ran into him. But the fact that this man who is in gravitating to me for everything Batman coded, because I tell people like that's the go-to with every Batman book and growing up, like Neil Adams was that dude. To know he made a Skate Man comic book, it blew my mind. So when you had brought that up and that character and such of it, and the story and origin of it was just insane. But I love the fact that you bring like all these characters in the sense of it. I'm like, especially like with the ones that are the indie ones, because the ones that DC coded, I'm just like, just give it time. James will probably put use for, because James has a tendency to do that a lot of times. I mean, look at what his record of his work.
Peacemaker's on the list,
and that's why. That's why
the thing is that the book itself was made a couple of years ago, like a little while ago. Like I picked up the first one I picked up the one I'm using at a thrift store. And flipping through it's a lot of characters that have actually shown up. There are characters that have shown up in media since this book, because there's like a reason that Regrettable. There, I have like an approval sticker, and it's because half of them aren't actually that bad. Like some of them are fucking terrible. Like some of them are ridiculous. Yes. But like. There's a couple that are so good that they've shown up in media since, or like are really important now. Brother Voodoo's in this. Like he's like a main character in Marvel.
Yeah,
Peacemaker is the biggest show on HBO right now.
Yes, that's why I'm like that one. When that one showed up, I was just like, but Peacemaker's big on it. But at the same time, I'm like, I get it. But at the same time, again, and this is what I tell people when it comes to James. I said James is the one that will take as much as the characters that don't get that much attention and such to put them into any of the war. Guardians is proof 100% of that, because my roommate, who is a big comic fan, never knew anything about Guardians until the movies. Nothing on it. He's like, he didn't even know it was actually, he thought it was an OC that James created for Marvel. I said, no, Guardians have it. Look, they had the book for years. It's just no one attached to it. And James is known for that illustriously. And I love that about that for James. So that's why I was like, so when it came to the Suicide Squad, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, Ratcatcher, and all of them, I'm like, that's James coded 100%. But to see him in the book, I was just like, yeah, it makes sense of it. So most of those characters, like you said, like some of them are actually dope, but I love like the fact that you run through them in so many detail from a perspective of your own observation of some of those characters that are just bizarre of it. So was it just you picked up the book and you just decided I'm just going to ramble through these in the sense of it?
Yeah, I picked it up at a thrift store and I looked at it and I was like, this is really intriguing. And initially it was just like, okay, there's a bunch of characters in here. I like doing series. And it when I don't want to have to think about making a skit, I can find a character in here that I can talk about. And at first it was I just like flipped to a random page, talked about the character, and people really liked the video, so I made another one. And then I was like, okay, this is permanent now. I'm doing this. I'm riding this fucking thing till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
And now there's 3 books. So that after Regrettable Superhero, there's Regrettable Sidekick, and there's also Regrettable Villain. And I've done a couple Regrettable Supervillains as like Halloween specials.
Yeah.
But there's only like I think 15 characters left. So after I'm done with Regrettable Superhero, I just move on to the next book. And
Yeah.
that is legitimately like I am just kind of twiddling my thumbs going through the last couple of ones. Like it's not done until it's fucking done. I've
Yeah.
had a couple of people ask if I could put Regrettable Superheroes on like YouTube or something, and I'm like, but it's not done yet. As soon
No.
as I'm done with the book, you'll get the whole fucking
The
series.
complete thing. I
Like
figured that
that's
was the
yeah.
yeah. I figured that was the reason why he
Mm-hmm.
didn't upload because I'm like I think he's going through the whole book until it's fully
Mm-hmm.
done. Then just put it in a one whole canon of a series of it. So,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, like with how many characters in that book that you use for of the sense of it, I figured I'm like there's got to be a lot of them. But at the same time, I was not surprised that there's a villain and sidekicks one, and I'm just like I've
Mm-hmm.
seen the villain ones that you mentioned before. The sidekick ones I'm very interested about because I'm just like there's been a few of
Yeah.
them I know that I can think of that I wish I could remember in the top of my head of it, but I know a few of them just remember it of it that are probably in that book if anything. But
I'm
it's good to
baffled
know
that there's
that you had that as
enough
a
to put
side
in a
part.
book.
Yeah, I mean
I'm
like
baffled there's enough to put in a book that isn't
I
just going to be
know,
like
I
Golden
know.
Age
That's what.
characters. That's
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh, they're
just
the
yeah.
exact same but
Ex-
small. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And that's just like I like with most of those characters, I'm just like, I'm just curious on that sense of it. But at the same time, like to know that it wasn't it was just simplistic the fact of I'm just gonna talk about these characters. I don't have anything to talk about much of it. And
yeah,
it's just interesting book of it just and people liked it so much it just ran with it. And it's good
just
to
keep
know
going.
that you
Yeah.
didn't put too much thought into that because the fact of like
No.
it's so brilliant of it and it got my attention on the case of like, okay, I need to look into this characters too, because I've never heard of some of these and it's so bizarre that they existed about it. Like it's so random
I've
of
had
it, but
people.
and like I said, like
Yeah.
with your input of it, just makes it more entertaining because it's like,
Well,
yeah,
thank you.
that's the reactions I have for those. So I love
I've
that.
had a couple people come up to me at cons cosplaying as Regrettable Superheroes. Like I've had a couple people show up and go like, there was one lady at my at the first con I ever got invited to, which is NocoCon in Watertown, New York, and I still go to that one every year. I love that con.
Ah,
And one of the guests that walks up to me was dressed as Lady Satan, which is one of the characters in the book, and I
mm,
immediately was like, "Son of a bitch! That's I know you. That's
oh, that's
it's
so awesome.
crazy. I
That is
I always love it. It's
that's
so
that,
cool.
that is so awesome. But yeah, like I love that in the sense of the fact of that one. But both of those in particular, in the sense of it, with both of those sketches, sense of it, that's when I noticed more attention was coming to you, even in the fact of uh, that DC got your attention. And like with Batman Day,
Yeah.
you doing the sketch for that and
Hmm.
basically introducing me to the fact that Batman has a TikTok with that whole
I
scenario, that sketch of it, which was so awesome. To know
I'm
that
gonna
now
use it
that
for
and
marketing.
I know and using
I'm gonna
market
use,
that
for
was
marketing for the rest of the time. I'm gonna use that I'm the
yeah,
first person that Batman
yeah,
followed. That
exactly,
is,
exactly. That's what I'm like the fact because and that's what I knew. Like I was right on the sense of like okay, see, I was right about the attention, a sense of it. So with that being said, the case of it, even within both of those moments, and then of course with DC just hogging into your case of it and such of it, when it came to you realizing you had that much attention, what was it? Was there a particular video that you were doing in specific during your whole time in videos on TikTok that made you realize, oh, you know what? I see a tick of it now. I'm actually getting a lot more attention than I was expecting. Was there any a moment like that during your videos that was getting that much engagement that, recognizing that you're starting to get a lot of attention now, like in a sense?
I made art videos on TikTok. I was
Mm.
a art page. I drew. I would go out and do drawings and like life sketches, and I would like sit in an IHOP and draw the people that were in it. That was what I did for like a year, and I got I think 2,500 followers from that, and that was over that entire time period. The video I made directly before the video that ended up getting me my attention is a video of me joking about how I'm going to get to 3,000 followers. And then I made a skit about specifically, I think the very first one I made is the fact that everyone in Gotham would know who Batman is completely. And I don't agree with it now. Like going back and looking at the skit, I'm like, this is terrible. This is terribly written and it doesn't make any sense. But
It's
I
always
made
the
a joke
terrible
about like
ones.
everyone would know who Batman is based on just like context clues. Like I think the thing that I said is how many 6'5" billionaires do you know who are also ripped as shit? Because, like, it's Bruce Wayne. It's obviously Bruce Wayne. There's not really any billionaires who keep themselves that fucking, like, oh yeah, the dude who is 6'5" with a square jaw, who mysteriously disappears all the time and is jacked like a motherfucker. That can't be him. Like, that was the first joke that I made, and that skit popped off like crazy. And I swear that was the first time it was a like descending order of realization. Because at first I was like, that video got popular, and I went from 2.5 to 10,000 followers in like 2 days, and then I went from 10,000 to 50,000 in a week, and I went like, oh shit, this might be something. And the only thing, it started, like I said, descending order, because I was in college, so I was actively going to school to be a video game artist. And the joke that I went was, the PS5 had just come out, and I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if I made enough money to be able to buy a PS5? Wouldn't that be fucking crazy?
Yeah.
And then as like the first paycheck from TikTok came out, because this is back when real early on TikTok paid fucking crazy money.
Yeah.
They don't anymore because enough people are on like the payment plans, but like
course.
early on TikTok paid weirdly good.
Yeah.
And the first payment came in, and I went, wouldn't it be crazy if I made enough money to afford my housing while I'm at school? Because this is, again, I'm in school. I have no bills to pay. I have nothing that financially I need to be responsible for right now. So all of it's profit. And I'm like, wouldn't it be crazy if I made enough money to like pay for my housing in my school for this semester? And then the next paycheck came in, and I went, wouldn't it be crazy if I could buy a car? And that was like the descending order. And then I bought a car, and I went, son of a bitch, wouldn't it be crazy if this could be my job? And that was like the descending order. And then like I was in college. The reason I started making videos is because of COVID, because I was locked in a dorm with 5 guys who didn't give a shit about comics, and I wanted to make the jokes that I had. But then because of COVID, the school that I went to specifically, it works a lot on like the internships you get while you're in school, where like that's a big portion of like what you can be sold as later. Because then when you leave, you can be like, oh yeah, I interned at this company, and I worked for this amount of time while I was in school, and then you get hired off of that. COVID fucked that. My whole class is fucked. Like almost none of the people from my year got a job. Like almost none of the artists that I know that should have jobs don't. And it's entirely because they don't have any experience. And that because COVID fucked us. And I graduated, and my plan was kind of to just get a job and kind of phase out what I was doing. Like, this is what I was doing for money and for fun while I was in college, and like I'll keep doing it because it's fun. But like I need to get a job, and once I get a job, like I'll see how much I can continue doing this because I enjoy doing it. But I need to focus on like getting a fucking career. And then I realized how much COVID had fucked me, and I went, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep doing this for a little while, and now it's my career. Now it's my job, and it's something that I can kind of coast on for a long time now. So like the video that made me kind of realize that this was my job now. It wasn't really a video that made me realize that it was my job now. The first video that made me realize this could be something was that first skit that I made that like rocketed my following in a day. And I went like, "Oh, wow. This isn't nothing. This isn't just like something I'm doing for fun anymore. Like I'm getting paid for this. I'm getting paid for that. There are tens of thousands of people that follow me now. I'm not used to that. What do I do?" And then descending order from there. And eventually it just kind of had to be a realization of like, okay, well, I guess this is my job now. And it's really funny now being able to realize the fact that like, oh wow, I kind of stumbled ass backwards into this. This was not the plan. I actively told people growing up that I didn't want to be an influencer. Because like growing up in the YouTube age with like Markiplier and
Yep.
Jacksepticeye
Yep.
and PewDiePie and all of those things, every kid in my middle school and high school was like, oh, I want to be an influencer, or like I want to be a YouTube star, or I want to make these videos. I actively didn't. I told everybody that I talked to that I was like, no, why the fuck would I want to do that? That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
have the camera on you at all times. I was a tiny autistic child with ADHD. I blended into the background and masked like crazy. So I very much was like, there's no fucking way. That's not happening.
Yeah.
Uh
That's relatable because the same way with me,
yeah.
to the point of it, because I've told people I've had to launch my career twice, and both times I didn't want to do
Yep.
it, and I tried to force doing it. Second time when I did it, I was just like, I'm just gonna leave it up there, but I'm not investing into it because I don't want to see myself as an influencer. And I've been getting that
Yeah.
same reaction on the sense of it too with TikTok at that same case. I'm
Mhm.
like, oh shit, because just recently. I'm a Gundam enthusiast. I made one
Right.
video which I'm just making reaction about me talking about my top favorites Gundams from worst to
Mhm.
best, and I've just seen the skyrocket in anger. But at the same time, like you, I said the same thing. I'm like, I don't really want to be an influencer. I really don't want to
No.
invest in it. I want to do a real career of it. My photography is my real career. And then I
Mhm.
just started doing video because, just expressing myself about it, being also autistic myself with it because I'm out there. And next thing you know, it's
Mhm.
just blowing up to what it is. And I'm like, well, damn, I wasn't expecting all that case of it. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I still keep myself in that sense of like, with now, it's just different because when I'm doing it in that case of it, I'm doing it in the age of where TikTok is now. And it's like not
Yeah.
much pay, like you said, it's not getting as much pay because everyone's trying to get into
Mhm.
influencing money and the creating program and stuff like that.
And it's
But
way harder. Like
mm-hmm,
I look at my videos that I posted that got me popular, and I'm like, there's no, this wouldn't work today. I can't
no,
post this because
no,
like
and
I'm
that's
also re-uploading my old content onto other platforms to like
mm-hmm,
to expand. And I'm realizing as I'm watching my old videos, there's like maybe 10% of them that I'm like, I'm gonna re-upload this.
mm-hmm,
Most of them I can't because it just won't work anywhere else,
no,
and it
no,
wouldn't work now. And I fully accept the fact that I just jumped on the fucking boat at the exact right time.
yes,
And I will not ignore the fact that the only reason that I have the people that I do and the following that I do is just I got real lucky that I grew with the platform. I jumped on and was making the type of content that worked at that time and changed my content as the platform changed. And that's the only reason it still works at all. And it's entirely because I wasn't really trying at first. I was just making jokes. And now that I am trying, I have to keep an eye on like all of it. I need to keep an eye on like how the platform works and what the what sorts of jokes are funny, what sort of videos still work on the For You page, like things like that. And it's a totally different landscape now. I would not tell anybody to do it the way that I did it. Just or like if you are going to do it the way that I did it, do it from the from the bare bones of it of like I always tell people if you want to be an influencer, you're already trying too hard. You need to be uh it's not a you need to not want it. It's a you need to just do the things that will make you laugh.
mm-hmm,
Do the videos that
yep,
you would find funny. And if
yes,
you would find it funny and if you can watch it back cuz here's the thing. I talk about this a little bit in some of my videos. I have aphantasia. Aphantasia means that I cannot visualize in my head. I do not have the ability. I don't hear voices when I think. I don't see images when I imagine. I get feelings, but like it's just sorry. I get feelings, but it's all like clouds. It's just trying to figure out what the clouds mean essentially. So I watch back my own videos because to me, I don't retain what I said. I don't retain the jokes that I made. Or like I retain the basic idea of the joke, but I don't remember the exact wording. I don't remember the facial expression or the voice that I was doing or things like that. And watching them back, I need to be entertained by my own videos. Because if I'm not
mm-hmm,
entertained, then I'm not going to expect anyone else to be entertained. And that's part of when I tell people like, if you're going to make videos and if you want to do this for a living, if you want to even try doing this for a living, you need to make videos that you find entertaining. You need to make videos that you would like, that you would watch if it wasn't you. Watch videos that you would find that you would still play all the way through. And I'm sure a lot of people didn't really realize this as it was happening. I have slowly trimmed down how long my skits are. They went from the full 3 minutes that you were allowed down to a minute and a half because I realized I wouldn't watch a skit over a minute.
Yeah.
Over a minute and a half, I'd start getting bored. I'm like, the jokes are too long.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna move on. And
Yeah.
I started trimming down because I wouldn't do that. And if I wouldn't do that, I'm not gonna expect anyone else to do that.
Yeah, and it's good that you mentioned the fact of like you have to be entertaining yourself if you're not going to be able to do it, because that's something I've also told people too. At one point, I've told people like, listen, like if you go in with the mentality, because absolutely 100% agree with you on that. If you're going in there and you're asking for it, you're already failing in the sense of it, because that's the same thing too. I'm like, you have to bake it as if you're not enthusiastic that this is a career sense of it. You have to let it naturally happen to you in the way of the content that you want to make, but at the same time, the content that you want to make for yourself, for you and maybe one or two friends or family, if it came to that point, and then let that take its course. If it happens in the sense of it, then it might happen. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at the same time, like that is a very, very important notion that I 100% agree with you on, because I've had many people ask me that same thing, because I still have people who tend to the fact of when I used to do review videos on my old YouTube years ago, because that's what I used to do. That was the content I used to do. I used to do like news update stuff of it. Like Philip DeFranco was like my guy in that same point of it. I was doing similar in the sense of it. It was just more like nerdy stuff, but nothing in the political sense of it. But at some point of it, it got to a point where I told people like, it started getting too much stressful for me. And I feel like in a sense of it, with what you said about that same condition you have of it, I feel like I have that similar thing too, because I don't see visuals when it comes to that moments either, of of that sense of it. Because at the same time of it, I don't hear thought processes either in my head in that case of it, because it's more in the sense of I'm only able to if I'm speaking out loud about that, because that pertains as well to my autism. In that sense, because I told people like when it comes to me playing about, I have to speak it out because I'm not hearing it in my head. So when it comes to like anything mapped out, including when I'm talking about a video, I have to speak it out loud. But sometimes I have to speak it out loud in the sense that I'm talking to myself in the scenarios that I'm in. And I'm like, I'm not crazy. It's just my thought process on that. And that's why I tell people that's the same thing when it comes to that sense of my autism and that sense of it, which I'm glad to know someone else like myself, you and well, on the spectrum that has that same process, a case of it. With the fact of your fame, in my personal perspective of your recognition, but like you had said before, like art was your original passion sense of it. Now I remember you had posted a while back, one of your friends who is a well-established comic book artist, writer, he had you do a variant for his Kickstarter in such a case about that, the Astounding All-Star, I believe it was called. And that moments like that happening to you, do you still consider yourself, despite the fact of how much you're getting recognition in your work on TikTok in the case of it, do you still see like maybe at some point down the line you would still love to, if it came to the scenario, we'll just put a dream scenario, if it came to the point DC finally pushed the button and said, yeah, we love your content, we hear that you have an art made, you're in sense of it, we would love you to do something with one of our variants. Like, is that an absolute yes to you in that sense of it?
Oh,
with
100%.
That?
Yeah. It would be something I would jump on immediately, because I still draw all of the time. I mean, every piece of merch I've ever made is my own art. Every piece of marketing material I have is something I made. And it's all things that I designed for myself, or for others, entirely based on my own artistic expression. I still have an art station. I still have posts that I make that are just my drawings or my sketches or things like that. Art will never not be a part of me. Art will never not be something that I do consistently. It'll never not be something that I do for my own regulation. There's a part of me that will always kind of be happy of the fact that I didn't turn art into my career, because there is an aspect of when you make something you are that passionate about, the thing that makes you money, there is going to be a removal to an extent of your own enjoyment of it. Like I've always been a comic fan. I love comics, but now it's really hard for me to read a comic without thinking about how I can make content off of it. And that is it's a part that's been taken away from it. I don't feel resentment towards that, but another part of me is very happy that I didn't turn art into my full-time everything, because it would have been, I would never be able to be artistic for myself ever again, or if I did, it would be very minor ways. It wouldn't. It would take a piece of the passion out of it, especially because to make any consistent income from it, I feel like I would have ended up being like what I was trying to be, like a video game artist, where it is very by the numbers, by the book. You have somebody telling you what to do, and there's not a lot of expression in that, or the expression in that is something that is a lot harder to hold on to. Not saying anything towards any indie game developers. I just don't have the strength for it. But like, I genuinely, if the chance was there, I'd jump on it because, of course, like at this point, I feel like I'm collecting it. I'm collecting moments that I can say that I did, or like things I can say that I did later down the line. I'm collecting stories at this point where I can say like, oh yeah, I went to an event and I saw Benny from Comic Storian, and we hung out with Sean Gordon Murphy for a while. And then the day after that, I went to Disney World with Comics Explained and just hung out with him for forever. And then we all went on a bender like 2 days later. Like, man, that is, having stories like that means more to me than just saying, than being like, this is going to be my forever XYZ. Like, I tell people right now that even if I deleted all my socials tomorrow, I would never be able to remove PandaRedd from my identity to an extent, because it would always be a part of me. Because then for 5 years of my life, I was a social personality, and I made all these things and I did all these things, and it's only off of the back of what I created. And ultimately, that's part of the reason that, like, if that opportunity appeared tomorrow, yeah, of course, I would jump on it, because I love drawing and I love art, and I would never pass up on an opportunity to have my own touch on the history of comics, even if it is even a small drop of it. And I know that right now I can say that that still happened, because, like, there are characters that have shown back up in stories after I started talking about them. And that means a lot. That's still really important to me. And I'm never going to be able to wipe that. That's never going to be wiped from the record regardless. Like, this happened, and that is incredibly, it honors me, and it's something that I really, really enjoy, and it's something that is really hard to overlook. I know that there are people who, I mean, when TikTok was going away at first, I made like a very big like video of like, this thing that I started that I just did for myself has touched so many people.
Yep, I remember that.
And I would never, at this point, even if I put it down tomorrow, that will never go away. And that's something that I really, really appreciate. And that's why, like, if DC gave me that opportunity, if any comic major comic creator gave me that opportunity,
of course,
that's still big. That's still huge. That's still something that I can say for the rest of time that happened. Yeah. And that is something that I take a lot of pride in, and it's something that I really enjoy. And it's part of the reason that I feel so confident in what I'm doing, is more so because of the fact that I can say that those stories happened, that those things happened, and it's entirely based off of what I was able to create, if that makes sense.
It does. And that's the reason why I tell people with the integrity on the fact of your work and your content. That's why I've spent voice of how much of a fan I am, because, like I said, despite my anxiety from when I met you at Colossal this year, and when that interaction happened, which again, I apologize for the animation that I was doing to the point where you were, and the fact that I still feel bad that y'all didn't get to go in the pool when they're closing up.
It was only like they were only open for like half an hour. We would have gotten in the water and they would have told us to leave. Like we would have gotten in and been like, ah, yay, and they would have been like, get the fuck out, it's time to go.
And I mean, yeah, if anything, but either way, I still feel bad on that case of it, because I told my boy Mark on that. I was telling him, I said, dude, I met him up. We talked for like 10, 20 minutes. And the fact that I was just so enthralled of everything he was doing of it, like his wife was there, like they were so cool of it. And I'm just like, I'm telling him, I'm pouring out my heart about giving him this flowers. And then I see he's right about to head to the doorway, and they're like, we're closing up. And I'm like, God damn it, I let him not get to go to the pool. I feel so horrible, miserable, which is why, when it came to that point of it, that's why, like, the next day, I saw you and your lovely wife in their amazing cosplays, by the way. And that's why I tried to say, you know what? Let me have him have this day so I don't bother him. Otherwise, I would have so taken photos of you guys in your amazing costumes
no
because they
worries.
looked awesome. But I was just like, let me have them have this day. I done bothered him for like 20 minutes that he couldn't go to the pool. I ruined that moment for him and that. Let him enjoy the next day. After that, like I'll just try to hit him up online and such of it. And again, much love to your wife.
We met up with friends who were on the other side of the pool who had the opportunity, and even they didn't go in until after they tried to.
Yeah,
like,
I saw them
"You don't
talking with
try."
you guys, and I was just like, I still feel bad about it because I'm like, I know with me, the introvert in me usually am not like that if it's something of my autistic and that's really hype of it. And so when I had that moment, I was just everything just let loose. And then afterwards, I'm coming down and I'm just like, I feel so bad for him on that. So when the next morning hit and I'm go to my rounds for shooting, I'm like, I know he's down there, so I'm not gonna bother him. I know a lot of other people in his costumes. I'm waiting for him to shoot. I let him shoot with those people. If any other time, if I did not bother him that day, I would have shot with you and your wife because your costumes look awesome. They looked so
nothing
good.
to worry about. We turned back around and just went to the inside pool because we were like, fuck it. At that point, we're already down here. Why not?
Yeah,
we had no problems. In fact, like we turned around and we were like, that kicked ass. That was awesome. Because like I shit you not, like because of doing this for so long, I'm very used to people coming up to me, which by the way, huge fucking shift. I was very used to being the like scary dog privilege, black cat sort of person in my day-to-day life. I always like I have, if I'm not putting it on, a very like intense resting bitch face. I have a very low brow. I have dark hair. I dress dark. I'm tall. Like I get it. But I got so used to that, and then since I started doing like all of this, people come up to me now. I have people who come up to me and I have to snap into PandaRedd like in an instant. And I have to go from like quietly scowling and just staring at something to like ding, oh hey! And I'm so used to that at this point that me and Mirren have seen it happen in like 5 or 10 different ways, and I can guarantee you are fine. I have seen so many I have had so many worse encounters that you do not need to worry about it because any of the worst ones that I've had, so much worse. And when we walked out, turned around, and just went to the inside pool anyway, because in all honesty, we walked out there and realized that it's literally just that little lagoon area, and then we turned back around. Like the next day, we didn't even go down there. We went like, we saw it. We saw it and we don't need it.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
Anyway.
You're not missing much. I've been in that con for about 10 years. I've been in that con before they expanded from what it is, and I tell people it's not much in that sense compared to that. It's not. Only reason why I'm there is because it's a honeypot. It's a honeypot for cosplayer photographers. You want to get the good ones around that area, that's where you go. It's the big build. It's not even in the cons if you're rarely lucky to. Because I found like 1 or 2 every once in a while around the lobbies area or in the rooms and such. The honeypot is that lagoon.
Inside, yeah. Is that
and
like area right there because you can shoot around the water. And
exactly.
Like, even when we did a photo shoot the next day too, and we did it around the water because that's exactly what you fucking do. And like we didn't really think about it until then because we like walked out, looked at it, and they told us to turn around. And we were like, "Are we even really missing anything? Like,
no,
we've seen everything already."
No,
and we just went inside anyway.
Yeah, that's why I tell people like you're better off inside in the inside one if anything. But I tell people all the time when they tell me like, which one would you go to, the indoor or outdoor? I'm like, I go to the outdoor one again because it's the honeypot. You want to get all the cosplayers. You want to get the ones who are amazing in the costumes and such.
You want to get your good
go
shots.
there. It's where everyone gets it. Yeah. But when you want to enjoy yourself outside of the cosplay and enjoy the kind of it, you're better off in the inside. You're better off. You're going to enjoy the experience there, if anything. So you're right. You're not wrong. You're absolutely right. You're not missing much of it. But at the same time, like I had not known about you and your wife's experience in that kind of particular because I'm like maybe it was his first time. So it's just like I wasn't sure because again, never would I thought a dude from Seattle would come all the way to San fucking Dusky to go to this water park convention, this little ass water park convention, where I'm thinking like, okay, maybe Texas one or the one in in the Florida one, like those are the ones I was expecting you to go to. But shitty Sandusky, Ohio, God, like come on, man. And I'm a native, and I have no problem. People turned away from Ohio, so I'm just like, the last time that I had someone big in this convention at this location. was Mika Burton, who I met 3 times, and I've shot with her 3 times.
Oh shit.
Amazing,
Yeah.
lovely woman. Her father obviously was an icon for me and an idol for me, but it blew my mind seeing her. So that's the level that I put you in with there. Like LeVar Burton's daughter, Jessica Negri, PandaRedd. I put you in that list, and I have no fucking shame to say that right here on this podcast because of the fact of how much of an influence you were for me, because it made me so much intrigued on the way of things in comics in a sense of it with certain characters and such, and what you've done with that and the content of it. So I'm glad that you stuck with that regardless of what could have been in your art career and such of it. And that's why the moment I saw you in Mind's Eye, I'm like, holy fucking shit, is that him? And I told like 2 or 3 of my friends, I'm like, dude, PandaRedd came to fucking Ohio. Are you kidding me? Like and again, it's great that you met and got a chance to, hang with Comic Storian before he passed. And that's why I'm so glad you told me that, because I literally said that to you the day that I saw you there at the con this year. I was like, you are up there. And I say it again, you are up there with him in passing the work on the information and comics on that, because it made me love comics again. Because at one point in my life, and I'm gonna tell you this on a sense of it, I was not reading a single comic book, a single American comic book. I was a manga guy. I was an anime guy. I was reading only stuff from Japan because I just didn't find an interest in it. And it wasn't until I was reading a little bit more into it, and I was just like, well, I can slowly get back into it in the sense of it. And then I run across from your videos when I finally signed up for TikTok years ago, but I didn't use it like putting my own content. It was just observation.
Use it,
yeah, I was more observation, no content of my own. And then I run across your videos, and I was just like, this guy with more takes of it. Like, as much as I know, like I said, you've made takes with Marvel at many times, but you're a DC guy like myself to more extensive of it. And that's what, and then when you started digging more into that, I was like, okay, this guy is understanding most of the case of it like me when it comes to his takes of it. And they're more agreeable than most other people, like, Comic Drake's in some case of it, because that's a complete 180. And I've told people before, like, I don't wish no hate on that man, regardless of what's happened with him and another comics creator who's on there with their stuff. But like some of the takes that he has, I can't agree with. But yours, I'm so much on point. I'm like, it's so freaking coincidence. Every single point you've made on that sense of it was on point. Like the last one I interacted with was the one that you mentioned, your reaction to the Mr. Miracle animated series. And that told me, like, you know what? It's understandable on how you feel about it. And I do agree with you to the extent of it.
Yeah.
My thing is Big Barda deserves some love. I tell people this all the time. As much 100%. As people don't give that sense of it. Because I told people before, I'm like, as much as I understand a lot of people in the sense of it liking what Diana is in Wonder Woman, but I put Big Barda over her because the way that woman is really Ripley coded with her relationship with Mr. Miracle is so adorable. And I love that. I'm like, this is, you want to, and I tell people, I'm like, you want that big, beefy, muscle mommy love right there in the sense of it? You need a Big Bertha. That's what you need. Because that's exactly what that is, in the sense of it, with her mentality. So that's why I was like, I just hope they do her right. Because I didn't like certain adaptations they did with her. But the fact of, spearheading in that sense of it, I understood what you were saying on the detail when it comes to like Mr. Miracle. And then the recent one you talked about with Kingdom Comes audio podcasting and series on that, I 100% agree. And so those were moments in the sense of it. I had to use discussions with other people when it comes to comic books in that sense of it, specifically in the DC lore of it, that I'm like, well, I'm hearing it from this guy's end of it, and this is what I see out of it, and this is more I agree on the tone of it. And I had that, and I've never had that connection with any other comic influencer that I've seen on that platform. And that's what made me so like, okay, this guy, like, he's feeding into my excitement on the sense of it with in the sense of it, like my autism is just reaching with everything expressive in that. And I remember at that one point, like you said before, when it came to that moment where, we thought TikTok was donezo and you were slowly transitioning out of that with their stuff on the YouTube and everything. And I was just like, it's going to be hard because like he's one of the serotonins of moments that I've enjoyed on this app, because with all the stuff that's been going on with all over the years and everything leading up to social and political situations, I'm just sick of hearing it. the one moments I know I have serotonin enjoyment, other than the people that I'm following who I know, is the content that you make of it. It's always been that great moment of it, seeing that of work of yours, and that's why I
Thank
hold
you.
you to a high caliber. Because I've told people before, there are some people in these communities that I'm with that I attach to that I don't see a lot of that I gravitate toward, that I'm like, I enjoy their stuff. It's the simplistic of it. There's a content creator in the wrestling world that I like in that sense, same sense with you. In the cosplay world, it's the same sense of it. And in the video game world, I have that same sense of it. And that's with you in specifically the comic book sense of it. I've grown to enjoy my sense of the comic books more now, to the point where I've told people now on my takes in comics, because at one point I was recluse like you, because again,
Hmm?
like you, I can truly understand and relate to the less social interaction situation.
Right.
But since your expression of your stuff in your takes with the comic books has been more open to educate me, and I love when people can educate me. I love that. Like
Hmm?
you just like the fact that you just did today with the Stephanie Brown thing, like that educational sense. I needed that. I needed that. I love that when you can be the point to just look at a different perspective. Let's explain the sense of it. You do that for me in a way that's enjoyable for me. I I
Thank you, man.
respect you to the highest caliber on that, and that's why I do not. I don't regret what I said to you at Colossal when I said like you right up there with Comic Story, and I need more people to know more
Thank you,
about
man.
you to the point of that, because it is 100% on what I stand on that sense of it. And again, it would be hard if it did came to the point ever sometime that you hung up the microphone of the sense of
Yeah.
it in a verbal sense when it comes to this work of it, because you definitely do have put an impact in this in the community personally for me when it comes to that sense of it, because like that Panda Red can't die in any sense of it, even if you're riding off to the sunset and such. So
Thank
I'm
you.
I'm I'm 100% stand on that, and I appreciate so much on that for what you do in that sense. Because in the shred of all this dramas in comic books, community sense of it, whether it's on TikTok or whatever that I've observed over the years, the one fresh stuff that I enjoy seeing of it is always been your stuff, and that's why I tell people like, no, this dude is serious. I like the stuff that he does of it because it's so good of it, and it's not that I'm biased on Marvel myself of it, but at the same time, you're even willing to go like, once in a while switching it up, like, and it's not just Deadpool when it comes to the Marvel sense of it, but like I've told people before, like I've always grown attached to mostly everything in the DC sense of it, and I don't see a lot of
Hmm?
even content creators do that more so. The last one I had failed me in a sense of it, to the point where like he's using that fame of what he is of it to do other stuff of it, but it's not been the same anymore. But with your stuff, it still gravitates to the point of like, yeah, I get a lot of attention from places like DC and some of the filmmaker
Hmm?
actor stuff, but I'm still doing the same stuff that I'm always doing of it. It's just now I have to maintain my time and worth of the case of it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, if anything, because again, I love the fact that you brought up about your mental health sense of it. Do you
Hmm?
feel like that also, like to the point of relatable to that point of it with your mental health, that help gravitates more to what you're intrigued about in comics in that sense of it?
Oh, entirely. I 100% after when I was in college, I used to tell people that my goal was to make enough money to afford a therapist, and then I got with Mirren, and she went, "Are you fucking stupid? Do you have medical insurance? You can afford therapy, you absolute moron." And I was like, "That. Wait, what?" And then she immediately was like, "Do you want in person or do you want like virtual?" I'm like, "I don't really care." She's like, "Great, you have 10 in your inbox, dumbass." And I was like, "Oh shit. Okay.
You
Apparently,
better not
I
ever
had
leave
to.
this. You better not ever leave this
No, of
woman.
course not.
You
Like,
better,
I
with
swear,
her
like,
being,
she.
her helping you in all three of these levels sense of it. I'm loving this woman
Everything.
already.
I
That's
am
why I'm
only
like
an
this.
adult because this woman gave me the chance, I swear.
Yeah, yeah.
She,
That's why I'm
like,
like,
yeah, she threw that out at me, and I swear, like, our, our joke for the longest time was that our 6 month anniversary, I was going to take the Radzar. Because she was like, I could tell that something's up with you. So we're going to get to 6 months and you're going to take that fucking autism test and I'm going to laugh in your face. And I was like, oh, sure. It's probably going to be a little bit. Which, by the way, if you ever need proof that shit works or like that shit is real, I took it and I got 130, 150 something, and I sent it to. I was like, okay, this shit runs down paternally, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna send this to my parents so that my dad can take it because that explains a lot. And my mom took it just for fun, and I was like, "What'd you get?" And she was like, 17, 1 7, and she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Why? What'd you get?" I'm like, "More than that, a lot more than
Wow.
that." Son of a
Yeah.
bitch! Holy hell! That
Oh.
was yeah. But upon realizing how much I had, like how much I was carrying around, and the fact like the ADHD, autism, all of those things, I realized that comics had probably most likely been a special interest. They had been one of those things that your brain just locks onto and goes, "This is a comfort thing, and I love this, and I'm gonna do this forever." And I could tell that I had other special interests that have popped up, or like the name's escaping me right now. The thing where you like absolutely obsess over one thing because it gives you so much serotonin, and then it's like you move on, but you still
Yeah.
have that like
Yeah.
serotonin from it. I've had a couple of those where it's like Star Wars, Berserk, things like that that just come along, and I'm like, this is my everything, and then I move on from
Yes.
it. Comics I never moved on from. Comics were always there. Art and comics are like my two big special interests, and I'm very aware of that.
Mm.
And I think that's the reason that it is a lot easier for me to be able to do what I do. I also will 100% say that my masking, the fact that I masked in very specific ways growing up, definitely lend to why I am able to be the personality that I am, is because it is essentially cranking that mask up to 11 and turning that into Panda, where it's going, I'm going to take the parts of myself that are very outgoing and loud and jokey and funny and all those things, and making that the thing that I crank up to 11, and pushing that forward as Panda. And that's usually what ends up going out, because like one of the things that Mirren points out to me, 'cause she has synesthesia, is that she can tell the difference between my speaking voice and my Panda voice, and the difference of how it sounds and the difference of how it comes across, and she can hear it distinctly because of the fact that it is such a separation. And it's something I do completely unconsciously. It's not like I mentally snap into it, but it is I will 100% say that I think all of those things highly influence not just my interest in the things that I talk about, but also why I'm able to talk about them and how I'm able to talk about them and why people like to listen, in comparison to just like somebody telling the news about comics. Like sometimes that's what people need, and other times that is very much not what people need or want in any capacity. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that it is highly influenced what I've been able to create and what people see from me.
Okay. I love the fact that, if anything, when it comes to that mode of it, because I'm relatable 100% on that case of it too, because I
Mm-hmm.
have that same thing in the masking of it, because I've had to express to people the sense of it. It's even higher on the case of code switching for me on some case of it. But the fact that I tell
Yeah,
people
of
like
course.
with the interest of it, that's one of the best things about that is the fact of whether you're with family or with a significant other, in the sense of it, that knowing that difference and you knowing when that is a good time in
Yeah.
the place of it, case of it. Because I've had to tell people before, like you see me. I tell people like you see me only masking when I'm out in the public. The real one me like only
Mm-hmm.
people have only seen is mostly my family. That's mostly a case of an
Yeah.
unmask of it. But in most cases, I also like to take the case of I tell people the only time that I use it as a safe mechanism for me and my sense of it for when I'm interested in to or to interact with people when I'm really close with that person is when the unmasking is out, because
Right.
one of my close friends who I work with, who models at times of it, she was the first one to notice it for me, and that's when she was like,
Mm-hmm.
"You're autistic, aren't you?" I'm like, "How did you know?" She's like, "Well, you're unmasked right now, and you're not looking at me." Which eye coordination is one of the
Yep.
things that's part of my part of my spectrum of
Same.
it, because I can focus on people,
Exactly.
but I don't usually do when I'm really talking, and it's rare that happens. But I tell people all the times of it, only a few people can catch it. So it's
Yeah.
one of my mask traits of it is when I'm looking directly at somebody. Normally, if I'm not looking at you, then it means that I'm masking. If then I'm
Mm-hmm.
unmasking. So, but at the same time, that was another thing that I was curious on that sense of it too when you had said about that, and I was like, well, then it makes sense why of the content that he does make sense of it, because of course people know this. Autistic people can connect more with autistic people.
Oh
It's a
yeah,
given in the sense
100%.
of it. It's
We
always been that way.
congregate. That's just how
Yes,
it works.
yes, exactly. And I've had to tell people before who are not on that spectrum, I'm like, you don't understand. Like, that's the only way that we know we're connecting. We're neural people during journey of other. Like, there's a photographer that I respect that I've talked about a lot of times on my TikTok. His name Brett Seeley. He just found out this year he's autistic as well, ADHD.
Yep.
And I had to tell him, I mean, you're the first photographer that I've ever met on the spectrum that I actually can now say who relates to it. And now he wants to use his platform to help other people in that same neurodivergency for photography
Yeah.
and modeling and such. And I'm like, we need more of that, at least in other cases, for influencers in this community, especially in the comic book sense of it, because that's a lot that we can bring into in the sense of it to make it easy for us in our connection in that sense of it. So I love that
Absolutely.
you know on that case of it where it's the case of it, and I love the fact your lovely wife in that case picks up on that as well. It's good, and I'm so glad that she had to be the one to kind of nip you in the butt to get you into therapy and all that, because
Oh yeah.
again, I have to stress
Entirely.
this to people many times. Therapy is not a bad thing. I've had to even convince my
No.
mother therapy isn't a bad thing. People shits talk so much about therapy, and I'm just like, no, you don't realize how much good that is for me. That's helped me in so many ways,
Oh
because
yeah.
I was really
Therapy's not a
darker than I
bandage.
am.
Therapy's not a bandage. It's not something that like heals over time. It's something that you have to continuously do. It's like an
Exactly.
exercise.
Exactly. Is You said you weren't reading much now, or are you still reading in anything in comics now, if anything, or
I try and stay up to date as much as possible. Currently I'm reading a lot of like back issues for a project that I'm working on, but I'm
okay.
trying to stay as up to date as I possibly
Did
can.
you
At
want
least with
did,
things that are
is
modern.
the new project, is it under wraps on that? Did you want to talk a little, do you want to bring up about that at some point?
I am trying to keep it slightly under wraps just because I don't know when it's going to come out. I always feel bad when I announce a project and then people are like, "When's the next video, Panda?" Because I have done that in the past where I've been like, "Oh, this is the next thing that I'm working on," and people are like, "Hey, fucko, you said you were gonna finish that video. Where is it?"
No, it's fine.
and
It's fine.
but like I'm willing to say I'm reading a lot of pre-crisis books right now,
Okay.
so that I can learn a lot about a certain character because I'm going to make my next video about a certain character that is usually not seen very much.
Okay. Well, I will end it on there, and I appreciate you so much for taking the time to at least come on
Absolutely,
here to
man.
talk to me. It was awesome to talk to you. I'm hoping this won't be the last time, if anything, to
Yeah.
have a conversation like this again, dude. Because, like, honestly, this has been a dream for me. You've been one of the biggest guests next to a cosplayer who I've worked with only one time, but if anything, I know all your stuff in case of it, and I'm hoping, if anything, that the next time we talk about it, we gonna be more in detail with the next probably James Gunn movie, because we were
Hell
supposed
yeah.
to talk more on Superman, but I definitely want to put a pin on the next one that James does on that sense of
Absolutely.
it. But yeah, if anything, I appreciate you coming on here, and I again, well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Today's episode with Panda Red. I want to thank Panda for taking his time out of his day to come on to today's episode and talk with me. If you guys have not followed the Panda Red with two D's, by the way, REDD, check him out on all of his social media, all over YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, but especially check him out on TikTok, because that is where his crowning achieving moments are. This man, again, as I said in the podcast, he's a person I truly feel respects the material in the comic world. His takes are the very same ones that I agree with, and I could not be more have been more happy to talk with this guy. And I hope this won't be the last. If anything, show him some appreciation, show him some love. Tell him your boy Donnie sent you. Thank you so much for taking the time out, Panda, for doing that for me. And I cannot tell you, this is one of the most crowning achievements of my podcast career. And I hope that, well, soon again, hopefully this won't be the last. And I send love to you, to your lovely wife, and everything going forward from there. And hopefully I'll be catching your next video, including regrettable villains, like we said, discussed before. I'm looking forward to those, as well as seeing Bill the henchman again. So, with that being said, y'all, again, go follow PandaRedd. That's RE2Ds if you have to. If anything else, you guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the podcast. Make sure you guys, if you can, check out me on all my social media. Donnie Black on Twitter specifically, as well as Instagram, as well as in most other social medias as well, such as Blue Sky. I'm also on Blue Sky as Donnie Black as well. Also, of course, check out my other channels for my work and such. And of course, as last but not least, check out my website and my photography, drymedia.format.com, for all of your photography needs. Anything else and see most of my work. And again, Panda, my offer still stands. With that being said, y'all, thank you for tuning in for another episode of the House of Blaq. Hopefully this won't be the last time, since most I usually do a lot of these podcasts and such. But I have another one that'll be coming out soon. But with that being said, thank you for checking out today's episode of the podcast. I am Donnie Black, reminding you again, later days.